of the Sports Bash starts now. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning producing today's show. You out there as the Phillies cut the NL East lead to just 3 games. How did it all happen? What a weekend it was. We'll discuss right here on the Sports Bash live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. We've got so much today, including, Ben Simmons, a reunion in Philadelphia? What? I'll explain coming up. Oh, man, what a doozy of an article that was just dropped today from, of all outlets, Men's Health somehow found Ben Simmons on the back of a boat fishing and had a – gosh, you got to copy and paste that article and see how many words it is. I would opine that it was over 20,000 words. I mean, there was a ton of things in this article. McGarry will join us. Early Nuggets, Flyers weekend with the draft. Kevin Durso. The Flyers also reportedly have given Dan Vladar a contract extension, 5 years and $5 million per. So we'll get the details on what that means for the Fly Guys. Sixers have made a couple little moves today. NBA free agency starts tomorrow at 6 o'clock. But before that, they had to make a couple decisions on some player options, one of which is with Trendon Watford, a guy who, man, I got him wrong. I thought that he would have been a good fit here, 6'9", kind of a point forward. I thought he would have been a guy that would have helped this team out. They didn't really ever use him. He never had a rotational minutes for this team, and they declined his option today. The other two, one was Dominic Barlow, and Barlow is back, as is Dalen Terry. Dalen Terry's kind of an interesting guy. He got drafted 18th overall. He was, a high draft pick a couple of years ago by the Bulls. The Bulls traded him to the Knicks for none other than Gershon Yabusele. Remember him? Then the Knicks in the same day traded him, Terry, to New Orleans for Jose Alvarado. And Alvarado ended up being a pretty big piece for those Knicks. And then New Orleans released Terry. The Sixers signed him to a two-way and then converted it to a full contract. And they made the decision to bring him back. But let's get into the Phillies weekend. Phillies with the win over the Mets yesterday. It's an improbable win again. I mean, these wins just keep getting crazier and crazier and crazier. They're 38-18 since Don Mattingly was promoted to the manager, best winning percentage in baseball. They're now 3 games out of first place. The Schwarber home run is just epic. It just feels like a Sunday where you just don't have it, and you're going to lose 2 out of 3 to the Mets. I'm watching the game, and I was already, yesterday morning, you lose the game on Saturday, and that one stood out to me as you had all these fun moments and wins over Washington. But let's be honest, the Washington bullpen is horrible. You're not facing the Washington bullpen in a playoff series. So you don't get the Derek Hill home run in the 9th inning, the Derek Hill home run in the 9th inning again. You don't get those things in a playoff situation. You get them against the Nationals in June. And then you follow up. You need a Derek Hill pulling basically. Derek Hill turned into Andrew Jones this weekend. He had 2 homers and then had a Gold Glove level catch in center field, basically to win the game for you. Without that catch, you probably lost the game. And we're talking about the Mets here. And then you lose the game. You're up 2-0 in the game against the Mets on Saturday, and you cough up that game. And then yesterday, you're down to this Mets team again, and you need a titanic home run from Kyle Schwarber in the 7th. He hits that 2-run bomb, and that gets you up 5-4, and then you tight-roped your way through the bullpen with Alvarado just being horrible again. Kerkering walking the bases loaded. Hello, Mitch Williams. Welcome to the 2026 Phillies. So Kerkering walks the bases loaded, and then you've got some of the worst plate approaches you've ever seen from the New York Metropolitans to save your ass and get you out of that situation. So the Phillies really should have been swept by the Nationals and probably could have been swept by the Mets. Instead, they're 3 games out of first place because the Braves are just stinkeroni right now. I mean, the Braves are looking at the standings, and objects are closer than they appear is the truth in this one. Phillies are 3 games back. I mean, and literally, they could have been on a 7-game losing streak, the Phillies. They could be on a 7-game losing streak. They should have lost every single one of these games to the Nats and then the Mets. I mean, really, if Derek Hill doesn't make that catch on Friday night, I don't know, what's the play of the weekend? What's the play of the week? Is it Derek Hill's first home run? Is it Derek Hill's catch? Is it Harper's home run? Is it Schwarber's home run? What's the play of the week for the Phillies? Because without any of these things, they would have been on a 7-game losing streak. Instead, you're 3 out. It's unbelievable. But there are some things we got to get into. I'd love to hear from you guys out there. Like, over the weekend and all last week, with all those come-from-behind wins and then the weekend here, what was your favorite moment of the week? Which home run, which come from behind, which play, which catch? What was it that which tight high wire act that they got out of? Alvarado. How many people, when that ball squibs back to the mound, how many people said he's not going to throw this ball anywhere near first base? I mean, you knew that ball was going to end up in right field. And then Kerkering loads the bases up, and you're like, there's no way he's getting out of this. And you just get the worst plate approaches you ever saw. I mean, the one guy swings at ball 2 after he throws, 9 straight balls. The guy, Mauricio, who, I don't know, they had Lindor just kind of hanging out, waiting there to hit. They never used him. So Mauricio pops one up in the air like a dingbat. And then Alvarez, could you be any worse of an approach than Alvarez? Swings that pitch way over his head to strike out to end the game. You can't even believe what you were watching, how bad that Mets team is. But the Phillies prosper from that. And we're talking about the record, 38-18 since Don Mattingly has taken over. It's the best winning percentage in baseball over that span. Kyle Schwarber yesterday, 2 for 5. His 30th home run of the year, by the way. It's his 5th 30 home run season in 5 seasons with the Phillies. It's not the All-Star break yet. I mean, he is, realistically, is Shohei Ohtani having a better season than Kyle Schwarber is? Like right now, Kyle Schwarber's at 256 with a 371 on base percentage. He's got 30 homers. 30. It's the All-Star break. Not even yet. I mean, it's not even 2 weeks till the All-Star break. This is unbelievable. Shohei Ohtani currently has 17 homers and 47 RBI. He's hitting 295 with a 412 on base percentage. I mean, his batting average is better. His on base is better. But realistically, is he having a better year than Kyle Schwarber? Like, you want to put a couple bucks down on Schwarber right now and just say, if he stays on this heater, how do you not give Kyle Schwarber an MVP situation here? Isn't there like fatigue of voting for Ohtani at this point? And somebody who might hit 60 bombs? Don't we got to start considering that as well? By the way, another big weekend for Marsh, right? Marsh had another weekend. He had a big home run. it was just this run really going back to the Mets series where they won the last 2 games of the Mets series. They lost that first game to the Nationals, and every game since then, except for Saturday. The Saturday game, you had the opener. That was the game Rangel actually came in, pitched pretty good. Harper hit a homer, and that gave you the 2-0 lead, and they never were able to do anything after that. But Rangel, I thought, came in and pitched his ass off there, but you lose that game. And really should have lost the game yesterday and probably should have lost the game Friday night. So that's where we are. Text board, crank it up on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Favorite moment of the last week of Phillies games? What else we got? What's your observations there?
Well, a couple things. First of all, you asked about MVP odds. So right now, Ohtani, and this is crazy to me. I don't know if these people are not updating their odds or they just don't care anymore, but Ohtani, Mike, is minus 300 for MVP.
Yeah, I knew that he was out in front, first place right now. And look, he's having a good year, but I wouldn't say like 17 homers and 40-some RBIs is nothing like crazy. I mean,
it's not like his years. Like the one year he had the 50 home runs and the 50 stolen base.
Put it in perspective.
Year.
You have Ohtani's numbers up in front of you?
I just had it. Hold on.
Bryce Harper this year has 19 homers and 51 RBI, which is better than Ohtani in both numbers. He's hitting 276. Ohtani has him there. And he's got a 374 on base. Ohtani has him there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Ohtani's 295 batting average.
Right, 295 and a 411 on base. Those two numbers are better than Marsh's and better than Schwarber's and Harper's. But Harper and Schwarber have them both in the home run and the RBI category.
Right.
So I don't know which number will be the one that stands out to voters.
It's a good question because some of the years he's won MVP, like I said, he had the 1 year where he had the 50 home runs, the 50 stolen bases. That was 2024.
That's a thing, though, 50-50.
Right.
That's something that the voters will say, man, this guy went 50 for 50. I got to vote for him. Like right now, what's a number that stands out where the voters are like, man, that's special? Like 295 in today's world, that's pretty good. 411's pretty outstanding.
Yeah, it's 412 right now is his on base percentage. I would say that if Schwarber keeps hitting home runs the way he is, those odds got to flip.
That's what I'm saying. So where's Schwarber right now?
Plus 400.
So that's not the best value in the world. I was hoping for a little bit more.
Well, it depends on what book you're at. If you're shopping around, one book's got plus 400, one book's got plus 700. So if you shop around, you can find a better number.
Yeah. I thought that I could maybe get plus 1,200 somewhere. Is there anybody between them?
Yes. So
I was gonna say the last time I saw it, Schwarber wasn't even number 2 in the standings. I didn't know if this past weekend or this week did anything for him that kind of gave him a push.
I mean, it gave him a push. I mean, he moved up. I mean, there is one book that has Schwarber at plus 1,400.
Yeah, I don't even. Who else would even be in there? I mean, Pages leads the league in RBI. Soto, he's on a terrible team though. I can't vote for him.
Yeah, but Soto I think has a 300 batting average. Let me double check.
He might. I mean, I'm not saying he's not having a good year, but I mean, come on, the Mets are a disaster. You got guys playing on the best team in baseball and a team right now that's charging for first place. I can't put a vote and waste it for Juan Soto at this point. I would think Pages with 58 RBI, and I know he got off to a tremendous start. His numbers have gone down. He's still got 15 homers and 267 batting average.
Soto has a 300 batting average of 406 on base. He's got 17 home runs and 39 RBI.
Now, you can make an argument that his numbers are better than Ohtani's.
You could.
I mean, other than the RBI number. We were having this discussion. So a guy I tweeted this out. People just hate Bohm, and I get it. Bohm is a hateable guy.
Yes.
There is no...
He is a hate the face.
There is no arguing that Bohm is, but the other day, what do you have? He had the 2 doubles or something. He had he drove in, what day was that? What day did Bohm have?
Was it Saturday?
No, I think, let's see. Was that on?
I'm pulling up his game log right now.
I mean, he hits into a double play almost every single time he's up to bat.
He is one of the league leaders in that.
Oh, the other night, I think he struck out and hit into 3 double plays. If memories or 2 double plays. One of the days, though, he had – it must have been yesterday.
Saturday, he grounded in the 2 double plays.
Saturday, drove into 2 double plays. Oh, yeah, yesterday he had –
Yesterday
he had an RBI, but I feel like he had a couple RBIs in a game. Maybe it was against Washington.
The last Mets game, the last Mets series, he had 2 RBI. That was the 18th. Last game, he had 2 RBI.
Let's see here. Bohm in the game yesterday was 2 for 3 with an RBI. He's at 225. His numbers this year are terrible. But I said the other day, somebody said to me, Bohm's on pace for like 90 RBI. I said, what? And I said, Bohm takes a lot of crap. He really does, which a lot of it is deservingly so. That being said, I said, Bohm gets a lot of crap, mainly because the Phillies hit him in a spot he shouldn't be.
Right.
Because they don't have another serviceable option. But he drives in run. He has 43 RBIs. He has more RBI than Marsh does.
He does, which is crazy because Marsh has a way better batting average.
Yeah, because Marsh he's been hitting fourth a lot, Marsh. And he's been hitting in the middle of the lineup. And not only does he have, his batting average is better, his everything's better. I mean, if I said to you, Marsh has less RBI right now than Bohm, you'd be like, dude, you are out of your mind. But the reaction that I got from that tweet, you would think. So one of the guys who brought it up says he's not a cleanup hitter if he should be batting 6, 7, 8, which we all know that. But another thing is, I said they don't really have another option. And to which somebody said they do have other options, Schwarber and Harper. I said, here's the problem with Schwarber and Harper. And this was something that I saw today. This is why you can't hit Schwarber or Harper in that spot in the lineup, okay? Put it this way. Right now, Trey Turner, who hits leadoff.
Yeah.
He's come to the plate 336 times. Schwarber's only come up to bat 301 times. Harper's only been up 294 times. Bohm, 289, and Marsh, 290. Point being, who do you want to bat more? Schwarber or Harper or Bohm or Marsh?
Schwarber and Harper.
Of course. And Turner has 35 extra at-bats because he's the leadoff guy.
Right.
So he keeps coming up to bat with 2 outs and ending the inning. But if you turn the lineup over, in theory, these analytic guys who are very analytically based, there's a guy out there. I don't know if you follow the guy on Twitter. I forget his name. It's skipping my mind. He must tweet this out every single day about how Bryce Harper should hit leadoff.
I don't follow this guy.
And his reasoning is that Turner has 336 at-bats and Harper only has 294. And by the way, Harper's played 2 more games than Turner has.
Listen, part of the problem is that, as Don Mattingly mentioned, Harper does not like to hit in other spots in the lineup, right? And you don't have a lot of options because you just mentioned Trey Turner has you handcuffed because you gave him $300 million and the organization refuses to get creative with the lineup. And until Trey Turner turns things around, no pun intended, this team is stuck with the lineup they got.
Well, part of the thing was they have options to move to the 4-hole. Schwarber and Harper, they're choosing not to which I say, realistically, no. They should be moving those guys further up in the lineup. In other words, you should have Schwarber hitting 1 and Turner hitting 2.
Yes.
If you're following the analytic part of it, which would be then Schwarber would have 336 at-bats, Harper would have 301 at-bats, and Turner would have less at-bats than those two. Right now, Turner has more at-bats than both of those guys, which should not be the case. Bohm actually he's hitting 4th for the most part, Bohm, and he has 289 at-bats. He's got like 60 less at-bats. So you don't want Schwarber hitting 4th because think about that. That means Schwarber would only be up 289 times.
Right.
And whoever would be hitting in the Schwarber spot would have 301 at-bats. You can't do that. That's why Schwarber hits 2 and Harper hits 3.
Right. Because, again, the whole philosophy is you want your best hitters getting the most at-bats.
That's right. And that's one of the things why the analytic people will say, there's a guy, I can't think of his name, but he tweets it out like every single day. By the way, Ohtani hits leadoff.
He does.
Because the Dodgers are very analytical and they want Ohtani to bat more than everybody else. And if you look at right now, the stats for the Dodgers and just go right to their at-bats, who has had the most at-bats for the Dodgers? It is Page's actually, Shohei Ohtani's missed a couple
He missed
of
a few
games.
games, yeah.
So he has 288 at bats, and Pages has 322. So if Ohtani, he missed, I think he's got, so he played in 76 games.
I think he missed 4 games. He had that weird knee injury, and then he cut his hand in the one game.
And Pages has played 5 extra games in him. So you look at that, though, Shohei Ohtani, like you go to last year's roster, go to last year and take a look at, because Ohtani would have played the full season. Yeah, last year, Ohtani had 611 at bats. He's the leadoff hitter. The number 2 guy in the lineup, Mookie Betts, had 589. It doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot, but it's significant.
It matters because in the biggest moments, you need your best players up there. And you can complain all you want about the cleanup spot. The reality is that you're stuck with the roster as is because of the money you spent. So you got to make the best of it.
609-403-0973. What was your favorite moment of the weekend? You got one? The catch?
Oh, I mean, the Derek Hill catch. I'm still loving that. That has to be one of the best catches I've ever seen.
So I got a couple.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you today. Does Derek Hill make your list of greatest catches you've ever seen?
Got to be on the list. I mean, I'm going Victorino in the
What was it, 08?
08, right? NLCS game.
Yeah.
You got that Victorino. They're up 5-3 in the 8th against the
Huge
Dodgers.
catch.
Big catch there. Obviously, the Pete Rose, Bob Boone. Now, it's not like a spectacular catch.
So you're going specifically Phillies over here.
Yeah, wasn't that what you were asking me?
No, I meant all time.
Oh, man. Now I got to think of a whole nother. I came up with 5 Phillies ones.
Like, for example, like I always go back to
Bo Jackson.
I was going to Bo Jackson running on the
Eddie
wall.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. snagging the ball on the wall with the Mariners in 95.
Gary Maddox in the 1980 game.
Gary Maddox is one that I was thinking of. I was also
all the Philly fans will go Rowan smacking his face into the wall.
Yeah, I don't care about that one. What I care about is, remember Dietrich Wise's catch in the Mark Burley no-hitter? He saved the game with that diving. If you don't make that diving catch, they don't have that no-hitter.
Yeah, my other one was Rojas in the 2023 game with a 3-1 lead against the Braves.
That was huge.
That was a huge catch.
He doesn't make that catch. They don't win that game.
They don't win that game.
I got another one for you. It's an anti-Phillies catch. How about Endy Chavez with the Mets against the Phillies in 2006? Remember that? At the wall when he stole the home run?
Not ringing a bell. How about
what's that?
Was it what was the guy's name? Oh, Kevin Mitchell from the Mets. Did he catch a ball in the left field with his bare hand?
That sounds familiar.
Kevin Mitchell? I think it was Kevin Mitchell playing left field for the Mets in like 86. A lot of stuff here on the text board. 609-403-0973. Ohtani's among the league leaders in OPS and ERA, though. Yeah, the pitching stuff, I guess. Now, you vote for him for Cy Young or MVP or both?
Yeah, I'm tired of giving these guys multiple awards. One or the other, bro.
Schwarber's played like 5 in the field sometimes, so it's hard to vote for Ohtani. Ohtani's won the MVP by being the DH. I got news for you, buddy. They got no problem voting for Ohtani, even though he doesn't play in the field.
The DH thing being an MVP vote, that was like 1990.
609-403-0973. You take a look at the weekend. Phils beat the Mets. They're 3 games back in the National League East. More Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, it's just another game. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime we could scratch out more wins, it works in our favor, and we're just playing some good baseball right now.
Jesus Luzardo, we're playing some good baseball right now. They really could have be on a 7-game losing streak had some things not gone their way. Are they playing their best baseball? Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City was at Citi Field yesterday and saw the Phillies come back again on a Kyle Schwarber home off Kodai Senga. Mets really managed that game interestingly. We'll discuss, are the Phillies, not only 3 back, but are they even playing their best ball right now? Like, you can argue they had 3 not come from behind wins. They needed a Gold Glove level catch on Friday night to basically win that game, and then you needed another Schwarber home run to win the game yesterday. You could have got swept by the Mets and swept by the Nationals. So are the Phillies actually playing their best ball right now?
Well, Mike, I do think they're playing their best ball right now, and I think the line the Phillies kind of walked this week, as you mentioned, a 5-2 trip that could have been 0-7, is kind of the line you have to walk in the postseason, and those are the games and types of plays you have to make if you're going to make a long, successful postseason run. And to me, when a team wins games like the Phillies did this week, it gives an indication that maybe something special is going on here, or maybe something is starting to click. However, having said that, I still maintain my overall take on the Phillies, which is that I'm cautiously optimistic and at the same time cautiously concerned.
Yeah, and, you look at some of the things, you say you're cautiously optimistic. What are some of the things that are starting to go in the optimistic direction?
Well, I think the starting pitching, right? I think, and I've got a must-win column coming out about this week. I think what Zach Wheeler has done, coming off the surgery that he had just last September, 8-1 with a 2.03 ERA, the lowest of his career. And you can go back in time, look at what their record was. I think they were 8-18 when Zach Wheeler joined the rotation, right? So, they fired the manager, and maybe Mattingly has given him a spark. But the biggest thing for them is having a healthy Zach Wheeler. So I just think Zach Wheeler is the number one. And number two is Kyle Schwarber. I mean, the legend grows. He is hitting home runs at a Ruthian rate almost here. And he did it again yesterday. So to me, and the rest of the offense too, Harper's having a good year, Brandon Marsh, Bohm's coming around, starts trying to contribute a little bit. So, on the optimistic side of things, that's where I kind of, have some faith in the Phillies there.
All right. On the pessimistic side, what are some of the things that still have you worried?
Bullpen. And again, while I'm optimistic about the starting rotation, I'm also concerned about it. I think the bullpen, they had a lot of come from behind wins on this road trip, but the reason they had a lot of come from behind wins is because the bullpen blew 4 leads. And I don't think any of us right now feel comfortable, or at least I don't, in a postseason game with a Ryan Kirkland taking down the 8th inning, Keller, if he gets healthy, taking down the 8th inning, Alvarado in a big spot. I think Dombrowski needs to go out there and get an arm or two and really bolster that bullpen. I also think, Mike, they need another starting pitcher because Luzardo concerns me. And yesterday was a microcosm of his season. He was fantastic in the first 3 innings. He's been great in the first 3 innings all season long. However, innings 4 through 6, not so great. He was able to yesterday sort of navigate through those 4th and 5th innings with minimal damage. But again, putting him out there, a series is tied 1-1. You're putting him out there for game 3. I would be a little concerned about that right now. So to me, one of their strengths is the pitching, but one of their biggest concerns, and I think where they've got to make a move in this at the trade deadline is bullpen, and I wouldn't mind another starter.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, PressOfAC.com. Yeah. You get all these come from behinds. You had the Derek Hill home run. You had a Harper home run. You had a Schwarber home run. You had the Hill catch the other night. I mean, you're playing the Nationals here. You're not getting a bullpen like that in the playoffs. And this Mets team, you can give an expository on how much of a disaster they are.
Well, yeah, that's another reason for the concern, right, is you're playing against teams like the Mets yesterday could not take advantage of the Phillies' shortcomings. I mean, Ronnie Mauricio should have been cut immediately in the eighth inning yesterday. Orion Kirkland throws 9 straight balls. Everybody who has ever stepped on a baseball field knows that you should take the next pitch after the pitcher has thrown 9 straight pitches out of the strike zone. For some reason, Ronnie Mauricio swings and pops the pitch up and basically throws Orion Kirkland a lifeline. What you're going to face in the playoffs, there are no Ronnie Mauricios in the playoffs, at least not this year.
No, there isn't.
Shohei Ohtani is not going to swing at after a reliever throws 9 straight balls, and if he does, the ball's going 500 feet in the other direction. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. You are going to play some teams in the postseason that can exploit your foibles. So that, to me, is why, and again, we talk about a bat and everything, but Mike, I've almost come around to solidify this pitching staff, get another starter in there and get, a reliever or 2 in that bullpen. And I think those might be easier to find than the elusive bat that this team has been searching for a couple of years.
Hey, it's something I think we talked about it over at the LPGA when hypothetically, hey, can you go out and get a guy like Skubal and just say, look, we might not be able to score more than 3 runs, but you're not scoring more than 3 against us either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the guys will be available. You look at the Mets, and I have no idea if the Mets would want to trade in the division with the Phillies, but the Mets have Luke Weaver as a reliever who is, 20-something scoreless innings, has pitched in big spots with the Yankees and the Mets. He'd be perfect here in Philadelphia. Clay Holmes, a Mets starter who broke his leg earlier in the season, is now throwing again, is expected to come back in August. Those are the type of guys I think that can kind of put you over the top. If you get another starter in here, Mike, considering Luzardo's success the first 3 innings against guys, it might allow you to put Luzardo in the bullpen and strengthen the bullpen even further for the postseason. So, yeah, pitching is their strength. And right now, I'm almost like lean into that strength, fix the problems you have pitching-wise, and maybe just trust the offense to kind of, hope they get hot the way they have the past 7 or 8 days.
Mike, you wrote about Derek Hill over at PressOfAC.com, PressOfAtlanticCity.com. Have they found their right-handed guy in the platoon? I mean, the right-handed guy doesn't have to play all that much. So, you can make an argument that they maybe need a better left-handed option than Gabriel Rincones, but have they found their right-handed guy?
Possibly. Initial signs are positive, Mike. But I think what Derek Hill kind of has the potential to be is he has a potential to be that guy that's better in October than in July. That can, with his speed and his defense and maybe his power against left-handers. Again, one of my complaints about the Phillies during this run is that they really haven't had position players who are better in October than they are in July and August. Guys like Kiko Garcia of the Dodgers, Andy Pages of the Dodgers. The Dodgers not only have superstars, but they have those role players. And maybe, and he has been so far since he came over, maybe Derek Hill can be that guy. I'll tell you that what, Mike, I was at Citi Field on Friday night. That's the best catch I've ever seen in person. I mean, he's running full speed, leaps, goes over the wall. His elbow is above the wall, and he catches that ball, yanks it back, has the presence of mind then to get the ball quickly back into the infield. It's probably the best catch I've ever seen. And teams that win, they have guys like Derek Hill who come from nowhere to kind of contribute. So maybe, we've all been talking about the bat, and we've been looking in the wrong place. We expect them to get a bat a guy who can hit 20, 25 home runs, a big name, sometimes an unknown can do just as much for a team. And that's what Derek Hill's done so far. And we'll see if he can do it going forward. I'll tell you what, in the ninth inning of that game on Friday night, they had a defensive outfielder, Brandon Marsh in right. I think they put Crawford in center and Hill in left. That's a pretty good defensive outfield if you're going to protect the lead late in the game.
Yes, and by the way, you said Kike Garcia. I believe you meant Kike Hernandez because I'm sure my text board will start lighting in the air here pretty quickly.
I didn't mean correct.
Kike Hernandez. All right. Well, the Phils with some wild games, but the Hill catch, you're right. That Friday night catch. And by the way, if he doesn't catch that ball, they probably lose that game, right?
Well, absolutely, because it's it ended up being 2-1, and Zach Wheeler said afterwards, it was only the first inning, but that catch won us the game because the Mets go up 2-0. And you got to consider the scene, right? That day, the Mets had fired the manager. So, things were in kind of a state of flux or a state of chaos with the Mets. And I know Phillies fans are going to say, when are they not in a state of chaos or a flux with the Mets? But extra chaos with the Mets on Friday. If Soto hits that home run, maybe they start feeling good about themselves. Maybe they can put some things together. So, yeah. That was a game-saving catch for Derek Hill. And like you said, you win the division by 3 or 4 games. He saved that game. He hit a home run in Washington that got you a game. He was part of another ninth-inning rally in Washington. Sometimes all you need is that one kind of role player to get you those 3 or 4 games to kind of put you over the top.
Mike, let's shift gears real quick. In a startling new conversation with Men's Health magazine, Ben Simmons says maybe I'll go back to Philly. He's talking about a NBA comeback, and Philly and Miami are the 2 teams he mentioned by name. Our poll question asked our fans, our listeners, would you bring Ben Simmons back? He says he would go back to Philly should the Sixers kick the tires on a Ben Simmons reunion.
Mike, that poll better be 100-0 against. I don't know what the fact that Ben Simmons would suggest that he would want to even return to Philadelphia makes me question what Ben Simmons is thinking about. Now, Miami is a different matter for him. You've got Giannis down there, you've got Bam Adebayo down there right now. I think he would fit in Miami. Play some defense, distribute the ball. Be a role guy off the bench, but under no circumstances whatsoever can we sign up for the Ben Simmons Philadelphia 76ers reunion tour. That would be a debacle of epic proportions.
Let me update that poll question for you right now. It is currently it's about 50-50. It is 52.
Really? I do not understand that at all. Did people watch Ben Simmons play in Philadelphia? I got a suggestion for everybody that voted to Ben Simmons to return to Philadelphia. Go to YouTube or whatever you can do and find Game 7 against the Atlanta Hawks, whatever year that was. What was that, 2021, I think it was, of the Eastern Conference second round, and go back and watch the fourth quarter of Game 7, and then go back to the poll and make the correct vote.
Well, it's 52% saying no, 47% are saying yes, they would have a reunion with Ben Simmons. We'll update the poll question throughout the show. You can vote at Mike Gill Show, and of course, you can text in at 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. All right, well, NBA free agency starts tomorrow. We got, of course, the All-Star break coming up and more. We'll have it all for you right here with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, and check out his piece on Derek Hill and Kyle Schwarber. 30 home runs before the All-Star break for Kyle Schwarber. You can check out those 2 stories at pressofatlanticcity.com. Mike, we'll talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
All right, Mike McGarry, everybody from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, the poll question is up. You can vote right now. He says, maybe I'll go back to Philly. The exact quote, I will quote the whole thing for you here. He says, I plan on getting as strong as I can physically, getting my ass on the court, and then the team realizing that my abilities will be needed. I don't have a plan on where. he says he's been talking to coaches who have told him to get healthy because if he's healthy, he has a spot. Quote, maybe I'll go back to Philly, he says. Miami would be nice, and not because it's Miami. I like Eric Spoelstra. I like the Heat. I like their organization. I like the culture. That is what Ben Simmons told Men's Health magazine in an interview that just dropped today. And let me tell you, we'll discuss it later on in the show. You guys can get involved as well. It's the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And this hour of the show, it is brought to you by our friend Craig A. Altman.
Listen, Mike, I've been saying it for weeks. Every day I'm driving, I see a car accident almost every single day. It's absolutely insane. So if you get into a car accident, first of all, I hope you're safe. But if you need help, don't depend on the insurance company to help you. They have a game plan. It's called delay, deny, pay as little as possible. No. If you're into a car accident, slip and fall at work, you need to call the office. Greg A. Altman, 856-327-8809. Yes, located right here in South Jersey, serving all of South Jersey for all of your needs. Not some lawyer you see on television that's going to hand you off to somebody else. No. The law office of Craig A. Altman, you deal with their office right here in South Jersey, and you pay nothing unless they win. For more, go get a free consultation right now at CraigAltmanLaw.com.
All right, coming up, do you remember events that happened on this day? We'll have a little fun with that, plus the Nuggets and Durso all next hour. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Randy Johnson, 4,000 strikeout right there. Do you remember it? It happened on this day. Randy Johnson with the strikeout in 2004. Oh, my gosh. I remember that night. He struck out Jeff Cirillo of the Padres. You know, Randy Johnson is second all-time. That strikeout, he became the fourth pitcher ever to record 4,000 strikeouts. Do you know the four pitchers that have 4,000 strikeouts or more?
Well, no one is Nolan Ryan.
He's the leader, 5,700.
I'm going to guess Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens is on the list, number 3, 4,672.
And what number's Randy?
Number 2. Roger's number 3, sorry.
Okay. So,
Randy's number 2. There's one more.
So
Randy Johnson, by the way, finished with 4,875 strikeouts.
So it's Ryan Clemens Johnson? Or
No, Ryan Johnson Clemens.
Ryan Johnson Clemens. Okay. So
and one more.
Oh, boy. Walter Johnson?
Steve Carlton, 4,136. Walter Johnson, by the way, is in 10th place with 3,509. There are 2 active pitchers in the top 11, by the way.
The top 11. Verlander?
Verlander's number 8.
Scherzer's
number 11. Chris Sale, by the way, is next at number 27. After that, Garrett Cole is 60th on the list. Yu Darvish is 80th, and Kevin Gossman is 84th. Sonny Gray, who had a no-hitter going last night, he is 91st on the list. Aaron Nola is number 103 of all time, by the way.
That's nuts.
Crazy. 2 no-hitters on this day in the same night. Fernando Valenzuela, and do you know the other guy? I remember this one vividly. It happened on this day in 1990.
Tell me.
Dave Smoke Stewart.
Whoa.
Both had a no-hitter on the same day. Also on this day in 2007, Barry Bonds hits home run number 750. And finally, in 2012, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency files charges against Lance Armstrong, accusing him of using performance-enhancing drugs during the Tour de France. You ever watch that 30 for 30?
I have.
Very good.
Very good.
Do you think he's guilty?
Of course he is.
Of course he is. Do you think Barry Bonds is guilty?
Of course.
Of course he is. That's what happened on this day. This hour of the show brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman. Coming up, it's the Nuggets next on the Sports Bash. All right, early Nuggets today. Earnshaw's here. This hour is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation. 609-390-3907, online, broadlees.net. Thursday, we're live at Yuri's in Wildwood. Stop out and see us for a Phillies day game watch party. Yuri's in Wildwood this Thursday. We're going to be back in Cape May County on the 10th of July. We'll tell you more about that later on in the show. We'll be back at Yuri's on the 14th for the Phillies All-Star Game celebration show. We're out and about all summer long, hang out with the Sports Bash, watching the Phillies all summer. Time for the Nuggets today. Early Nugs. It's bring Nick Earnshaw back in for today's edition of Nick's Nuggets on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. What's up, Nugs?
Oh, man. Who would have thought we'd get a Ben Simmons nugget today? I mean, who would have thought? That article in Men's Health was unreal. How many words did you say at the beginning of the show you think it was?
I said,
off your
Did
prediction?
you find that out there? I said 20,000.
That's probably about right. I mean, that was long. That was an expose, as one may say.
I'll get it here. I was trying to ask how many words it was. It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I would say it's about 20,000 words, if not more.
I believe you. I believe you. That was a long article about fisherman Ben Simmons, who supposedly wants to come back. I mean, I couldn't start the Nuggets if I couldn't talk about Ben Simmons wanting to come back. I mean, this is a nugget of all nuggets with Ben Simmons here wanting to come back. And there was just a couple of parts of that article from the piece that I stood out to me. Okay. And one, first of all.
By the way, you know how these articles now tell you how long it will take you to read the article? It says it's a 17-minute read. So
it was a long one. It was a long read. It took me a while. I had to go back and reread certain passages. All right, let me compute that again. It took me a little over 17 minutes to really get through the whole thing. But let's break down a couple of passages from this article. And the first and foremost is the one where he mentions coming back to Philadelphia and maybe wanting to go to Miami. So it starts out where he says, quote, "I plan on getting as strong as I can physically, getting my ass on the court, and then the team realizing that my abilities will be needed. I don't have a plan on where. You can't teach 6'10" and IQ." And he says, maybe I'll go back to Philly. Miami would be nice. And not because it's Miami. I like Eric Spoelstra. I like the Heat. I like their organization. I like the culture. Okay. With that being said, why does he think he gets to pick where he wants to go? Why does he think he's some main target free agent that I'm going to have my choice of teams? Well, why on earth would Miami want him? And why on earth would Philadelphia want him? Those teams would have to want him. And he says in there, you can't teach 6'10" and IQ. But dude, you've been hurt. You've been out of the league for a while now. Why on earth would anyone give you a chance? Why do you think you could dictate what cities you want to go to? That was bizarre to me. Bizarro world stuff, Mike.
Well, I don't know that he's dictating where he wants to go. I think he's asked a question and he said, maybe I'll go back to Philly, and he mentions Miami. But I got to imagine if somebody called him, he's not going to say, well, you're not on my list.
Well, are we sure? Are we sure he wouldn't say that? Are we sure?
Because he says in the article, that was the whole thing. He said that coaches he's been talking to coaches who have told him to get healthy, because if he's healthy, he has a spot. And he says, maybe I'll go back to Philly. Miami would be nice. But, I imagine if these coaches are saying, look, if you get yourself back on the court, you're going to get a job.
Yeah, but it might not be in those two places. That's why I'm he wants to, I guess maybe, I wonder how he said it too, because you can take things in a certain way in fine print, right? Like he says, maybe I'll go back to Philly. I feel like that could have been said in jest, right? There's a part of me that thinks maybe he said that kind of half-heartedly. Maybe I'll go back to Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Like, that's how that can be taken. And you read in the fine print, and he might not be being serious about that. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I can't even believe he mentioned Philly as a possibility. That is mind-boggling to me because, quite frankly, everybody would think that he had a terrible experience here, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, maybe he said it in jest. Like, that wasn't said explicitly.
I don't think so.
The article. I don't know if he's being serious or if he's being in jest. This is Ben Simmons we're talking about here. All right.
Yeah, I don't think that he meant it in jest. I think that he legitimately felt comfortable here and would come back here.
That would be unreal if he came back here. And I saw you put out the poll question a little bit earlier, and I am stunned at the response on that. So you asked.
Listen, we have a lot smarter people out there than you give them credit for.
What were you talking about? I'm just stunned. I didn't think it'd be this close. I don't think it has to do with people being smart or not smart. I'm just stunned at the response. I would think that fans would be like, I'm out on Ben. Like, we're not doing that whole thing again. Right now, you asked, would you bring Ben Simmons back? 46% said yes. 54% said no. I am stunned no is at only 54%.
Me too. But I think people are smarter than you're giving them credit for.
Why are they smart though? Why is it smart are you suggesting that it's smart to bring Ben Simmons back? Is that what you're suggesting?
I would bring Ben Simmons back in a heartbeat. This team lacks rebounding. They need a guard who can rebound, start the break, and that's something that they have completely lacked since he has left here. This league, you need bigger guards. These three-point shots, you need a guy who can rebound around the elbow and get some weak side rebounding help. They lack what Ben Simmons brings to the team over the last couple of years because they can't rebound. Their guards are too small.
I don't disagree with you that the Sixers need rebounding. You are acting like he would just come back and be the old Ben Simmons of old. He's had multiple, and the article talks about this, the nerve issues, the back problems. He's had all that go on. He hasn't played. He's been fishing. The mindset thing, the whole off the court stuff is totally is another thing. That's one part of it. But the basketball part of it, I'm concerned about too. He hasn't looked like Ben Simmons of Philadelphia 76ers, Ben, when he was with the Clippers, when he was with Brooklyn. He was hurt. He had back problems. He was out a lot. He was, not playing all the time, and now he sat out for a while. You're just acting like he's going to come back and be the Ben Simmons vault. And listen, that would be fine. Great. If he could be that, I would take that player in a heartbeat. But I don't see that player ever coming back ever again. He's going to be 30 years old here.
Yeah, 30 years old is a young guy. You're acting like 30-year-old is an old guy here. And listen,
with back
I think the difference is, first off, he has back. Ben Simmons would not come back to play if he had health problems. The only way he's coming back to play is because he feels like he's healthy enough to play. He doesn't care to play if he's not. He's not going to play hurt. That's my point. He's not going to play if he doesn't think he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah, you could always come back from injury and then get injured again. That's my problem. I don't trust him to stay healthy. I don't trust him to stay healthy. I don't know what those surgeries have done to him where it could affect how he plays and how he used to play as well. I think that's part of the equation too. Yeah. Not even just the off the court stuff.
Well, listen, the player that he was, the Sixers have lacked for a long time. The Ben Simmons of his first 3 years, I don't think he's going to be that player. I'm not even suggesting that he's that player. The guy never shot at all and still scored 17 points a game, and the whole world knew he wasn't going to shoot. Now, that being said, that's not the player that I'm even looking for. I'm looking for a role player. I'm looking for a guy who's 6'10", can handle and get Tyrese Maxey off the ball in certain situations. He has been shown to be a phenomenal facilitator. He is an excellent defensive player. He could guard other wings, and this team needs rebounding from their guards. If you look at him as a role player and not the number one overall pick, then that's a player they could use.
I feel like you're giving him way too much credit, and he's just going to come back and be a solid player. He was supposed to be a role player with the Clippers. He was supposed to be a role player towards the end of his time in Brooklyn. Like, he was supposed to be that at the very least, and he wasn't because of the back problems, because he's Ben Simmons and the mentality is just not there. I understand he thinks he's healthy. There's a lot of guys that have tried to come back and be productive, and it hasn't worked out. I don't see it working out for him. I just don't. I wouldn't bring him back. I don't know that it would
work out either. You could say, I don't see it working out. I'm just saying, if he's healthy and he's a free agent, I would take a shot and say, yes, I lack what he brings to my team. I can't promise that he's going to stay healthy. No team can. But what you're taking a shot in is a low-risk, high-reward guy that this team lacks. I can't sit here and say, why would you be concerned about his injury?
Wait. Low risk? Did you say low risk?
Yeah, low risk.
It's a big risk. Ben Simmons
not paying him a whole heck of a lot of money
to
come back.
It's the whole thing surrounding Ben Simmons that is the high risk of dealing with the media charade and his nonsense, all that stuff. Like that's the risk in all of dealing with his mentality and how he goes about things. Is there going to be another episode? Like, that's where I'm concerned.
I think those things are past him. He has been in Brooklyn. He's been with the Clippers. He's been at multiple organizations. I think all of that is behind him now. And, well, he was hurt. He said it in the article. I wasn't healthy. So he sat out all of last year. The only way he would be coming back to play is if he was healthy. Now, if he's hurt, of course I'm not going to take a shot on him. But if he's saying I'm healthy and I'm cleared to play, I would take a low-risk opportunity. I mean, I'm not paying him $100 million.
I'm stunned you want him back. Well, actually, I'm not stunned. I'm really not stunned you want him back. I think with the
crazy. I like talented players. What a horrible thing to say. I like players that are talented.
He's not the same player whatsoever. He's just not going to be. I can't see him being the same player or even a role player you think he's going to be. I just don't see it.
We would differ. If he comes back to play, listen, one of the things that always been questioned about him is whether he even wants to play or not. So why would he even return if he didn't want to play?
He's loved being
fishing, enjoying life. He doesn't have to give that up. He obviously wants to come back because he thinks he can still play.
I know. He thinks that. Is it? But like, he could say and do all of these things. Will he put it into action when he actually gets signed by a team? I don't know if I believe him. You believe him more than I believe him. And I think most people, I don't think they would believe him because he's pulled this before. He's done this type of stuff before. Remember how many times he thought he was going to shoot? He puts out the shooting videos. The summer of Ben, every single year we get the video every single summer. We're probably going to get 10 more this summer because now he's making a comeback. I don't believe him. Like I sometimes
I'm not even asking him to shoot. I don't even need that guy. This is what I need. A guy who can handle the ball and get Maxey off the ball for periods of time. I need a guy that can defend on the wing, and I need a guy that can rebound. I don't need him to score. I don't need him to score like he did when he was here. He averaged like 17 points a game when he was in Philadelphia. I don't need that guy. I need him to grab rebounds, start the break, and be a ball handler. If he can do that, I will take the mid-level exception and take a shot.
In theory, I'm with you. In theory, I just don't see it being a practicality. I just don't see it happening. Like, I think he's going to come here. He's going to struggle to fit in. He's not going to be the same player. He's going to try to do the same things he used to be. I don't think it's there, man. I just don't. I would not bring him back. I wouldn't even touch it. It's not even worth the drama. The Sixers have way too much drama going on every single year. You don't need to add this on top of it. Now, would it be a great story? Sure. If it all worked out and was kumbaya, great. Yeah. With Ben Simmons, it usually never happens.
See, and I think, the fact that he mentioned Philadelphia, that I would come back, that shows me a lot. The fact that he would be willing to say, listen, I know it didn't end well, but I would be willing to go back there. It's not my team anymore. It's not me. I'm just there to be a role player. That tells me that, and he said, Miami, not because it's Miami, because I like the culture there. It's telling me that he's kind of looking to just stay out of the spotlight and just kind of work his way back in as a role player.
So I want to bring up the ending of this entire article. Here's what the author wrote, which makes me wonder, while he's here reflecting on the cusp of turning 30, fresh off his win at Walker's K perhaps about to embark on his comeback. Is there anything he'd do differently? He says, quote, Ben Simmons, nah, I'm Ben Simmons. I just got to keep doing what Ben Simmons wants to do. End quote.
Yeah, that's basically him saying, I'm just going to be Ben Simmons. Like,
that's the problem. That's the problem. That is the exact problem. That's my problem with the whole thing. The fact it ended like that, I'm just going to keep being Ben Simmons, do what Ben Simmons wants to do. Well, is it next week he's going to want to go back to fishing? I gave the comeback a try. I'm kind of over it. I'm going to mentally check out. Are we going to do that again? That's why I wouldn't even get involved. I wouldn't even get involved with Ben Simmons.
Hey, listen, I've always said people had high expectations of Simmons, and they should have had high expectations of Simmons. He was a 3-time All-Star. He was a 3rd-team All-NBA player.
He was great.
He was one of the 15 best players in the league, and he got hurt. And by the way, I think there was a lot more to it than he got hurt. I think he got hurt, didn't love the game, and basically said, I think he had a lot of mental health issues that forced him. Basically, had the whole thing, that thing with his sister and his stepbrother and his sister or something. It was some wacky situation with his family. Was a mess. I think he had a lot of mental health issues, to which it all happened right around that Hawks series when all that was coming out.
He was also, a little bit in love with himself. Like,
I don't disagree. That
watch that LSU.
Before this dropped, I had no idea this article was coming out today.
Neither did I.
We actually had a conversation. I was talking to my girlfriend about him today, and I said, because I said he caught these fish somewhere. We were talking about it yesterday, right? About the Instagram that he was in Egypt. That's what I said. I said Ben Simmons was in Egypt. I said, could you imagine if we were in Egypt while we were at the pyramids and there was Ben Simmons there? That's how the conversation came up. She said, whatever happened to him? And I was like, listen, he made like $200 million. I think he just made money and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I've made enough money. I don't want to play anymore, because he didn't want the scrutiny that came with being the number 1 overall pick, who declined so much from the player that he was, in large part due to health.
He was also handed a lot of stuff. Like, I urge people to go watch that LSU documentary when he was on the come up to be the number 1 overall pick, and make your own judgment of what do you think of Ben Simmons. Now, the guy's going to be 30. It was a long time ago. I hope he's evolved. He's evolved.
We had Jeff Nadeau on during the draft, and he talked about Peterson. And he said to him, Peterson was by far the best prospect in the draft, to which I said, well, what about the fact that he didn't really show up? And he said he didn't want to go to college. They made him. So he didn't give a crap. Ben Simmons, same exact thing. He never wanted to go to college. He was made to go to college, so he didn't give a lot of effort.
He didn't? Yeah, I know that, but it's the mentality he was brought. He was a little spoiled. That's all. That's all I say. He's a little bit, okay? He's a little spoiled. That's all I got to say. Well, I wouldn't bring it back. I wouldn't get involved.
I look at the fact that he knows Maxey, he knows Embiid, he knows a lot of the guys here, he knows the organization, and they know, listen, I don't think they're going to sign him. However, the Sixers need to think outside the box on how to improve this team. And if you take a shot on a guy who's 6'10" with a tremendous basketball ability and IQ. Now, again, I'm not saying he's going to be the all-star level, but can he do the things that he did really well? Can he defend? He was a tremendous defender, right?
He was, but is he going to be the same defender after all those back surgeries?
I don't know.
That's a concern.
I'm saying I have to think outside the box. Listen, they're not winning an NBA title, but what if he all of a sudden says, hey, I can be a lockdown defender. I can rebound the basketball, and I can bring the ball up and get Maxey off the ball. You could do a lot worse than ass backwards in yourself into that player.
Listen, I was one of the biggest Ben Simmons fans there was when he was coming out. I have like 3 different Ben Simmons jerseys, okay, in the closet. I would love for this story to end that way, like a storybook type of thing. You get the old Ben back, you get Embiid back together, you got Maxey, Edgecombe. I mean, It would be tremendous ending to the process. It would just be a tremendous ending. It's the Sixers. I don't see it happening. It's Ben Simmons. I don't see it happening.
You know what? That would be the only thing that would help the Sixers is all the stuff that has happened around. It would come full circle, and here would come Ben Simmons to unlock the key of all of this wild stuff that has happened and get it back on track.
If they bring him back, I will cheer for him. I just, looking in reality, I wouldn't get involved. There's too many red flags for me. Too many red flags, and Ben Simmons being Ben Simmons, like he ended the article.
I just look at it as, what's the difference? The only thing that you can do is either A, get a player that could actually help you, or B, say, look, we made a mistake and we were going to stink anyway. What's the difference?
We got one nugget in. Do I even have time for a second nugget?
I got time for a quick nug.
All right. I got to address your concern and your question from over the weekend, okay, up on the Twitter X platform. I made a choice in wardrobe, all right, on Saturday in the locker room.
Bold choice.
I thought it was a great choice. Yeah, and now, so you put out the question, all right? You screenshotted it. It's a very blurry screenshot, so I'm not going to give you credit on the picture there. You said, does Nuggets have the guns to pull off this shirt? And I wore a brand new All-Star Game cutoff hoodie, essentially. And it was sleeveless. I wore it on Saturday to the locker room. And I thought it was a great choice. I was getting tons of compliments. You don't think I have the guns to pull it off? That's not the point. It was warm out. It could have rained, so I had a hood. I was doing all that. And by the way, I put out a poll on my Instagram, all right? And I have a ton of votes on this. 67%. I asked the question, did I pull this off with the picture? 67% said yes, 20% said no, and 13% said never do this again. So I think I'm in the lead here. All right. Well, I think I pulled it off.
Couple things. The Instagram crowd are a lot nicer people. Plus, they're your followers, most likely your friends. I'm a unbiased person here. So my followers are saying, I don't really know this guy. I mean, I'm just looking at a guy in a picture wearing a cut-off shirt.
And look pretty good in it, too. 67%.
I like the shirt. I had no problem with the shirt. I thought, you're doing a radio broadcast. I thought maybe you go a little bit more professional look. That's all.
Well, it was also opening Clemens' new place. It's like a gym atmosphere there. I went with the vibe, and I got tons of compliments on it. Tons.
It was a nice shirt. Again, you keep going back to the niceness of the shirt. No one's talking about the shirt being a bad shirt. It was a nice shirt. I would have probably thought somebody with a little bit more, definition in the arms might have put that shirt on.
I think it looked good. I think I looked pretty dapper in that. In that shirt.
We got Jim Guy Henning over here. What did you think, Henning?
He was out. No, he's not on my team.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he goes to the gym. Is that a shirt that you would pull off, or he would pull off?
Yeah, he could do it.
Listen, Nick is in his own little world when it comes to fashion. So, Nick is of a generation of people who wear a lot of different things that I would not do. So I look at Nick and I'm like, you know what? Nick's in his own world. He's doing his own thing.
It's a nice shirt. It was a nice shirt.
You're damn right it was. And, Josh is leaving out the fact he tweeted out a butthead from Beavis and Butthead meme at me when you asked the question.
Well, no, I was trying to be nice. No. See, now you're trying to do a Billy Schweim on me. Okay. All right. Here's how it works. The question Mike Gill said is, does Nick have the guns to pull this off?
Yeah.
So I responded to the question, which is the meme is, I don't see any.
Yeah, with butthead. You responded with butthead. Yeah, come on. Butthead? Oh, I was getting a butthead? I mean, that's all I got?
Awful.
I think I'm bigger than butthead.
All right, well, you guys can check out the picture at Mike Gill Show and let us know if you think that Nick could pull off the hoodie that he had on without
67%.
sleeves the other day. Without 67%. Sleeves on.
67%
at Mike Gill Show and vote in the Ben Simmons poll, or let us know on the White Horse RV text board 609-403-0973 and let us know, would you bring Ben Simmons back to Philadelphia? He said he'd be willing to come back and play here. All right, Nick.
Later. See you guys.
All right, there is today's Nuggets today on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. You can check that out. Jersey Cal's now open in Ventnor or in Margate on Ventnor Avenue, across from Down Beach Liquor. Homemade ice cream flavors with the best ingredients and packed flavor. Cones, cups, sundaes, cyclones, gelatis, milkshakes, and waffles. Oh, boy, we were there on Friday, and it was amazing. It's open from 11 to 11 in Northfield, Brigantine, Absecon, and now Margate. Homemade happiness in every bite. Jersey Cal. All right, coming up, Phillies Fastball in 1 hour. But when we come back, the Flyers draft on Friday night. What did they add? Plus, are they involved in some big names as free agency is about to get underway? And the goalie is back. We'll discuss with our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso, coming up next on the Sports Bash.
frankly, I'm just going to put this really frankly, Josh, the free agent market sucks this offseason. And the one thing about right now with all this player movement and cap space available, this is when teams can really make a big mistake. You get a little crazy. You got a bunch of dough in your pocket all of a sudden, and you want to go out and just spend it like crazy. And then you spend it, and you get a guy that helps you, but maybe he's not the right guy, and the right guy becomes available in 10 months, but because you spent it on a kind of right guy before, you're not in on the absolute right guy now. I think you got to be patient and prudent here. I know Flyer fans don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. But it's the reality of the situation.
Jason Martinez on Hanging with Henning this weekend from the Flyers Radio Network. Not a great free agent class. Be patient. Is that what Flyers fans were hoping to hear? Probably not. Kevin Durso's here. What's the plan? He joins us now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Our Flyers insider Kevin Durso, as NHL free agency about to kick off as well. Let's go back to Friday night in the draft. Obviously, the NHL draft is one of those where you don't see a lot of these guys. We don't know a whole heck of a lot. What can you tell us a little bit about the Flyers, especially the top draft choice there? They traded back and added a couple extra picks, pick number 27. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name, but we'll leave that to you, Durso.
Yeah, I got you, Mike. Maxim Sokolovsky is the big hulking defenseman, 6'7", almost 240 pounds. I mean, people don't love hearing this, but he's a prototypical Flyer in terms of size. I mean, he's everything you would expect a guy like that to be. He's dubbed the hardest hitter in the draft. He's a physical player. Really not much of an offensive game to speak of. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have the skill per se. He actually was a pretty skilled player before he went to junior hockey and played for the London Knights. So there's a chance that could come back out, but this is like most picks in that range, especially after the trade back. It's a long-term project, and you're going to need a lot of time before a guy like that comes to fruition. A lot of the picks that they made this weekend were along those lines. It was already a weak draft class to begin with. I think the Flyers recognized that. I give them credit for starting with 4 picks and trading back in the first round to get a few more selections. But really, there wasn't going to be much to write home about if you didn't have a top 5 pick, and the Flyers clearly weren't heading down that path for most of the post-Olympic break and so on. So it's not going to, I kind of teased that a little bit of a few weeks ago, where when they started to not have a whole lot of draft capital for this year, it wasn't going to be an active weekend in that regard, and it kind of wasn't.
Well, let's go to what is next for the Flyers here. Obviously, you mentioned, let me ask about the draft choice here. He's 6'7", big-time defenseman. What's the timeline here? What do we think about that?
It's multiple years. He's going to play another year with the London Knights and juniors. He's going to play college after that, expected. So you're looking at probably at least 3 years before he turns pro, and then AHL time as well. He's only 17, going to turn 18 over the summer. I would not expect that you would hear about him being in a Flyers uniform at least for another, you're talking 4 years, 5 years maybe before you even hear about them.
So
these are really long. Yeah, these are really long-term projects that they were selecting this year.
All right, so they've got a couple of restricteds. Let's start with the news on Vladar. We did talk about him about a month ago. It looks like a 5-year, $5.5 million per. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Exactly. It's the range, certainly the years. We knew the term was going to be a 5-year extension for a little while. It was just about where the money ultimately came into play, and 5.5 was kind of that comfort zone that I think both sides were really happy with. So it's not official yet. It can't become official until Wednesday at noon, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's 12:01 on noon and that deal is official. That's where it's pretty much lining up at this point. So we've known about this for a while, and that's exactly how it's going to play out.
All right. What do we think about some of the other guys here? What other guys need new contracts in your mind? What are some of the other orders of business that they'll start checking off here?
Yeah, the 2 primary are going to be Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. They're the 2 that you really think about when talking needing contracts. To be honest, in maybe about another hour and a half or so, that's when qualifying offers are due. There's no doubt that the Flyers are going to extend qualifying offers to guys like Zegras and Drysdale, and those qualifying offers are really not a non-factor because you're signing them to more long-term deals, so it's not about just next year. But there are other players that they could qualify at that time that it makes it a little interesting in terms of depth. Like you think about anybody who's on an expiring contract, maybe like a Carl Grunstrom or something like that, or anybody else like that. You see if you can't go out and get somebody like that who hangs around. But those two are your primaries. Zegras is kind of an interesting one because he has the same agent as Dylan Larkin, who is out there on the trade market, has requested a trade. So their agent is kind of focusing heavily on the Larkin trade market right now. So the Zegras deal is kind of on the back burner. It will get done, just not in any hurry, and both sides don't seem like they're worried about it. So no problems there. The Drysdale one also sounds like it will get done after July 1st, but also, again, no rush there. It's not like they're going to lose his rights or anything like that. It'll get done. It's moving in the right direction. They'll get done. And I would kind of, Zegras is going to get certainly long-term. Zegras is going to get probably the full 7-year max that you can give. And you're probably looking in the range of about $9 million per year. I think Drysdale's is going to come in maybe closer to a 6-year deal and something in the range of what Travis Sanheim is getting, because again, you're trying to adjust for where the cap is going and the percentage on the cap. So that's kind of the range for those, but there's no worry about those two getting done. They'll happen.
All right, let me get to, we heard what Jason Martinez told Josh this weekend. Doesn't sound like there's a big splash out there. So if you want to try to do something in free agency, is there anything that can help make this team go from where they were to maybe another level?
There's one, and the question with that one is that his rights got moved over the weekend. So now the question is, does he even make it to market? For a while, there's been a lot of speculation that John Carlson is one of the few free agents on the market the Flyers could look into, because you could probably, for his age and for where he's at in his career, you could probably get him on a short-term deal to get an established power play quarterback into your roster while you wait for somebody else to develop or wait for somebody else to come along via the trade or free agent market down the road. The issue here is now Carolina acquired his rights and gets kind of a head start on this. Now, will they be able to do this? It's not a guarantee. And if he makes it to market on July 1st, on Wednesday, then the Flyers have a shot because there's definite interest there. And if they could do that one and, get a 1 or 2 year deal for a guy like that, even if it's an overpay, that's not one I think they're going to regret. It's more about if you were to go out there and look at some of the guys that are on the market, realizing they're not to the level of what you need to make improvements, and then start throwing 5-year deals around. That's where you're going to get in trouble. That's what Jason's referring to in the clip you played. You don't want to get locked into a bad contract. I compare it to kind of in the Ron Hextall days. They went into free agency. They hadn't made a big free agent move for several years. It was all about the draft. And then all of a sudden they signed James Van Riemsdyk to a long-term deal out of free agency. The class wasn't that good. And then you had all this money tied up into one player that didn't really move the needle for your team as much as you hoped it would. And now you're stuck. They don't need to do that. But if you can come up with a short-term deal for somebody like a John Carlson that can really both help your back end and give you a power play quarterback, that I would look into.
So does Briere use some, they have some cap space. Does he make a trade? Is that the best way to absorb, some of the cap space that they have here with the free agent market being lackluster?
It's certainly a place you can look to get better. The question that I have, and it's what I think is the biggest lesson from this weekend, is do you have what everybody else would want to make it happen? I watched as draft weekend played out, and in the days leading up to, as you're watching, Mason McTavish got traded for 2 first-round picks. J.J. Peterka got traded for 2 first-round picks. Pavel Dorofeev got traded for 2 first-round picks. Bowen Byram went for the 4th overall pick. And as that's building up, you're sitting there looking back at what the Flyers may have to offer and thinking you're not going to put that kind of capital on the line for players of that level. And when somebody finally comes along that is worth your while, it's going to probably put you out of your price range. I'm thinking of, Zach Werenski's name has come up, and anybody who isn't the Columbus Blue Jackets being forced to move the guy should be calling about him. Everybody should be calling about the reigning Norris Trophy winner. The question is, if you have that much competition, can you compete with other teams' offers, and how far do you have to take it? I mean, at that point, I don't even know if you have the luxury of having untouchables, and you probably want to have untouchables with the Martones, Michkovs. There's talk about Tyson Forster being a guy that they don't want to move from. It's that kind of thing. You have those guys. You have a first-round pick from Toronto next year that maybe you want to hold on to because you think it's going to be a higher pick. You have to be willing to give to get, and you might be finding that you don't quite have as much to give as other teams have to give, and you find yourself out of those sweepstakes very quickly. That's the challenge.
All right, let's see. You go into where they are now and free agency begins. Not a lot there. The trade deadline, or excuse me, the trade is the best possibility. Who would be some names then they could move in a trade to help improve?
I mean, really, they could move just about anybody at this point. There's been a lot of talk about Rasmus Ristolainen. There's always talk about a guy like Owen Tippett being a valuable piece to other teams if you want to try to improve from a position of strength, I guess. You know, they have such an abundance of wingers that if you moved an Owen Tippett and got a center back or a defenseman back, if that was, you know, if somehow Tippett was able to be the centerpiece of a Werenski deal, you get a number one defenseman, a bona fide number one defenseman, and you trade from a position of strength where you have other guys in the lineup that can potentially fill the void. But it just doesn't feel like that's enough for some of the biggest names out there. It didn't feel like what they had was going to be, you know, especially if you're holding on to the fact that you just don't want to move on from, you know, you certainly don't want to move on from Martone with the limited exposure he's had. If you don't want to move on from Michkov because you want to see the bounce back the following year, which I believe they do, then you're kind of left with the next tier of talent, and there's other teams out there that can probably surpass you. So I mean, those are names that could always be on the move, but I feel like Briere's patience here is going to be on, those aren't the guys I want to move for second tier or third tier players. If I'm going to move them, I want it to be a package for a superstar at that point. And if that's not possible right now, then I'd rather keep what I got, see how it continues to grow, and then wait until the next opportunity, whether that is a better free agent class, you know, as opposed to what this year's turned out to be, or finding another trade partner down the line.
Real quick, they did trade for a goalie last week, and they're going to give Vladar an extension here. What is what did you think of that trade last week with Joe Woll?
Yeah, this is a really good, and it kind of counters all the people out there who view what they're doing as kind of a run it back type of thing. You're not running it back with the same goaltending tandem. You got incredibly better with this acquisition by moving Sam Ersson and getting Joseph Woll. His save percentage is nearly a 3% difference. I was telling Josh a couple weeks ago after that trade went down, the the save percentage and the amount of shots he faced. Dan Vladar played 13 more games than Joseph Woll did, and Wall saw only 63 fewer shots than Vladar did. So it tells you what kind of workload he had playing in Toronto. He still held up his end of the deal with the save percentage. The goals against average only looks bad because you face 40 shots a game. You give up 4 goals a night by making 36 saves. That keeps your 900 save percentage, but your goals against looks terrible. I think if he plays on a team with more structure like the Flyers like to play with, he could be the type of guy who makes, the 18 out of 20 that Vladar was making, gives up 2 a night, gives you a shot to win more often. So I think they earned themselves some more wins the following season now by getting better goaltending in tandem. And now they can see where that takes them as they have these other players on the roster that are looking to grow as well and see if they can provide more offense.
All right, Kevin Durso has our Flyers coverage over at 97.3ESPN.com. And when it starts to heat up and moves happen, at Kevin_Durso has all the Flyers news you need. All right, buddy, we'll talk to you soon then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Kevin Durso, everybody, here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video. You can watch the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel with the right here. Bash and Kevin Durso will have more on the Flyers. All right, coming back. When was the last time we did our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day? When was the last time you did this? They discussed it this morning on Unsportsmanlike. We'll have it next on the Sports Bash.
I went and saw a movie over the weekend, CC, which I had not done in a long time. The movie The Invite. Have you heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Penelope Cruz, Seth Rogen, Olivia Wilde.
That's an all-star cast.
It's an all-star cast. It's kind of like a play because it's only set in one room. It's only set in the apartment, but it touches everything. It's comedy, it's depth, it's real life. It was very good, and it reminded me that I need to go to the movies more often, especially in the summertime when it's so hot outside. It's a good escape to get in the AC and go see a movie.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the last time I went to the movies, scared the hell out of myself by watching that movie Obsession, which is still insane. Can't believe they were able to make that movie with the budget that they had. But that was really, really entertaining.
All right, that's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Michelle Smallman said, really good idea to go to the movies. Now, it's going to be hot as heck this week. 100 degrees on Thursday. And I'm thinking, I've been in the movie since 1998. That's the last time I went to a movie. What's the last movie you saw in the movie theater? 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Mine was The People versus Larry Flint. That's the last movie I saw in the theater in 1998.
I was in the movie theater last night.
Last night?
Last night.
Jeez.
Listen, I had to get an escape from my weekend.
Was
work.
it the same reason? Because she said the air conditioner?
Well, it helped because I was outside all day Sunday and I wanted to do something inside. I was like, I gotta break
What's
free.
it cost to go to a movie these days?
Tickets usually about somewhere between like 12 and 14. And then you
Not
gotta get
terrible.
then you gotta get popcorn, so it's probably gonna cost you about another $7.
Yeah, the $7 popcorn's outrageous. The ticket's only 12, the popcorn's $7.
But see, I get the free refill. You gotta get the big popcorn, you get the free refill. I'm a big fan of the free refill because that way you walk out of the theater after the movie, you refill it and you bring it home with you.
What was the movie?
I saw Supergirl.
Supergirl? How was it?
It was okay.
Just okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't as bad as some of the online psychos are saying it is, but it's not as great as the DC hype machine was saying it was.
What's the last movie you saw in the theater? Let me know. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. This hour of the show brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadlees.net. I was trying to fix my air conditioner the other day. Woo, baby. It's going to be hot, hot, hot on Thursday. Get it fixed. Get it fixed now, everybody. Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, it's brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Big screens, big bets. Game day hits different at Ocean. We've got our summer mailbag questions. Now, a lot of these questions are addressed to Geoff because Mosher's usually on Monday. It's a Mosher Monday. But Andrew DeCecco pinch hitting today for Geoff Mosher. So a lot of these questions for Geoff, doesn't matter who answers them, but some of the questions refer to Geoff in the question. So we'll just change that to Andrew, who joins us right now on a Monday edition. We have a Monday mailbag with Andrew DeCecco. This is a nice change here, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. How's everything on your end?
Everything's good. It's good to talk to you on a Monday. We usually get Andrew on Thursdays, of course, on Football at 4. Our summer mailbag continue here. All right, let's get right into them because Tommy and Wildwood Crest says Geoff, which would now be Andrew. With Sean Mannion running the offense now, he brought in Josh Grizzard from Tampa Bay as the pass game coordinator, which has not been discussed a lot. How different, Andrew, do you think this pass game will really look?
Yeah, I actually wrote a story on Josh Grizzard after having talked to him. That's on InsideTheBirds.com, and it's going to be a collaborative approach. That's something that Sean Mannion's talked a lot about. Josh Grizzard spoke about that. Ryan Mahaffey has talked about that as well. And with Grizzard, he's coming off a season in which he was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It didn't go well. There were a lot of injuries there. There's a lot of reasons why it didn't go well. He's a really young he was a young coordinator, and now he's stepping into a role that he held before as a pass game coordinator, which it allows you to almost zoom out a little bit and approach it a little bit differently, where you're fixating on the passing game and kind of being a sounding board for the offensive coordinator and working in concert with him. And I think you're going to see more spacing. You'll see some different route concepts and spreading teams out a little bit more, and it won't be as compressed. And for someone like Devontae Smith, I think you'll find that Grizzard and the brain trust there, looking over the offense, will find a way to get him turned loose a little bit.
You can check out the article on Grizzard over at InsideTheBirds.com from Andrew DeCecco. Let's go to our next mailbag question from Frank in Egg Harbor Township. Saquon, 29, ninth year in the league. Do you think they will actively try to reduce his snap count this year?
No, I'm not under that impression. I believe that the run game is going to be at the forefront this year, and that has been a successful recipe largely for the Eagles, especially with Saquon Barkley, leading the way. And I think that while there's been so much conversation, Mike, surrounding the passing game, it's all going to revolve around the effectiveness of the run game and the players up front blocking for Saquon Barkley. But Saquon doesn't look like a player who has lost a step. And I know that he's handled the football quite a bit. I think it was, over 300 attempts the last 2 years. And that would suggest there's plenty of wear and tear, but he looks like the same player to me. You talk to players, they say he's the same guy. There's no lack of burst. The vision hasn't diminished or anything like that. And I would expect the Eagles to continue to force feed him the football in the ground game while finding different spots to work in Tank Bigsby. But you're not taking Saquon Barkley off the field and finding ways to get the ball to Tank Bigsby. This is going to be the Saquon Barkley show, and that's kind of what I'm expecting going into 2026.
All right, good stuff. There you go, Frank. Let's get to Matt's question. He wants to know, rookie receivers sometimes take some time to adjust. What kind of adjustment do you think for Makai Lemon?
Well, I think it's going to be even more so with Makai Lemon having missed the majority of spring practices with the hamstring. That wasn't something that the Eagles were going to rush him back, and then you run the risk of re-aggravation, especially in the spring. And he was getting those mental reps, but you can't replicate those on-field opportunities, going through the motions and learning on the spot. You're getting coached on the spot. And, the receiver can be a little bit of a challenging position to master in this offense. And if you listen to what Dontavian Wicks had to say, he said it's all about the details and knowing what your responsibilities are. And when there's so much thrown at you, and I'm glad that this question was asked, because it seems not everyone, but it seems like there's this widespread belief that young players should be able to acclimate if you're a first or second round pick, or you're coming from a school of pedigree or something like that. It depends on the position, and the learning curve is different for every player. And I think in the case of Makai Lemon, we still have to find out and learn a little bit more about him, but I'm basing it off of him not getting those opportunities in the spring to work through some of those challenges and learn on the fly. But everything that I've gathered behind the scenes suggests that he's a sharp-minded football player. His attention to detail is extremely high. And so it's all about putting that together in training camp and making sure that you're available and consistent each and every practice.
All right, Andrew DeCecco's here answering your mailbag questions. And, of course, our summer mailbags continue. Let's go to Dave in Delran. He says, Jonathan Grenard's in the mix. What's the realistic expectation for guys like Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt now that Grenard's here? How will he help those guys out?
Immensely. I've gone on record with you and elsewhere, and I've written about it, that I do believe that Jalen Hunt will be one of the Eagles' breakout stars this year. He's been trending in that direction the past 2 years. He's made leaps from year 1 to year 2, playing 241 snaps, 693 last year, led the Eagles in sacks, quarterback hits, interceptions, and the more opportunities that he gets, the better he becomes. And he's sort of rounding into the player that the Eagles envisioned when they drafted him. And you saw the production that he had when Jalen Phillips arrived. It was in week 10, and from week 10 to the end of the season, that's when Jalen Hunt he compiled 5.5 sacks. And prior to the arrival of Jalen Phillips, he had 1. So playing alongside someone like Grenard, who's going to command a lot of attention, it should unlock the potential of a Jalen Hunt and a Nolan Smith. And I think the defense as a whole is going to benefit from that, because while you're looking at Grenard, through the lens of last season, he played in 12 games, just 3 sacks. But I don't think that tells the whole story, because if you look at the pressure rates and all those advanced metrics, it tells you that he's the same guy. He just wasn't able to finish and wrangle the quarterback when he got there. And he talked about that in his opening press conference. So I think that the Eagles as a whole are going to benefit immensely from the arrival of Jonathan Grenard. And I would also say that is the Eagles' best addition this offseason.
All right. I like that answer because obviously the Eagles, I don't know what your take is on the Max Crosby stuff. That there was a report that they were nuclear involved in Crosby here. I don't know that if looking for an edge rusher is still something that's in the cards for them.
I think edge rusher right now, in my estimation anyway, is the deepest position on defense for the Eagles. And when you're talking about someone like an A.J. Epinesa, who was a second-round pick in 2020, played 91 games, started 19, and all of a sudden he's your projected 5th edge rusher, that speaks to the depth and how they've sort of reconfigured this room. And Max Crosby's a name, and he's been highly productive, but he's also a player that's accumulated over 900 snaps year after year after year. There's a lot of wear and tear on the player, and you also don't know how he would fit in a Vic Fangio defense when a lot is asked in terms of you have to do more than just rush the quarterback. You have to drop into coverage and do some other things. It didn't work out all that well for someone like Bryce Huff. So it's not always a perfect match despite the pedigree and the reputation, right? I mean, but I do believe that the Eagles have more than adequately addressed the edge rusher room and made it a pretty well-rounded group.
Andrew DeCecco, Football at 4. Brian in Cape Courthouse wants to know, do you think Tyler Steen is the biggest question mark on the offensive line with all the injuries they had last year? Do you look at Steen still as a question mark, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, I really like this question because I take every opportunity I can to address it. No, I don't think Tyler Steen's a question mark. I believe that he had a solid year last year. If you're one who subscribes to the Pro Football Focus metrics, which I know that some tend to when it, skews towards their narrative, if it supports their narrative, well, he was regarded as one of the top guards in the NFL. And I understand that he was replacing Mekhi Becton, who was a dominant force in the run game for the Eagles' historically effective offensive line in 2024. But I thought while they're different players, I didn't think that there was much of a drop-off at all, for being honest. I think the big question that I have is the health of Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson. I would say that Landon Dickerson might be the biggest question mark for me. Obviously not from a talent perspective. He's one of the best guards in football, but there were many different injuries through last year. There's another year of added, attrition. So there's always going to be questions there. But for me, it just stems from the health, not the production.
All right, Andrew. By the way, it looks like the Lions have released Terrion Arnold.
I just saw that. Yeah.
We were talking about him on Thursday and the decision that the Eagles had, but they have waived Terrion Arnold. Now, he has maintained innocence in this whole situation. This is a bizarre situation. I don't know what more information or anything that you have saw about this thing, but what a bizarre situation this thing has turned into. But this was a player who was a first-round pick, and the Eagles were choosing basically right between him and Quinyon.
Yeah, they were sort of toggling between the two, and this is another example of where you have to tip your cap to the Eagles' evaluation process, to the scouts, and they spend so much time vetting these prospects, and they want to bring in players that they believe are going to not only fit the culture, but, of course, be high-end players. And so you look at Quinyon Mitchell, and he was my top-rated corner that year, but it was, you look at someone like Terry Arnold coming from a program like Alabama, obviously it's going to be enticing. But with Quinyon Mitchell, there is a connection there and the familiarity that Nick Sirianni had with Jason Candle over there in Toledo. So they were able to have unique insight and perspective into the prospect and be able to then project what he was going to provide at the next level. And I mean, you don't often find a corner coming from Toledo who's a starter week one, and all of a sudden, quickly ascends to the top corner in the NFL. So one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. So I think that's a huge testament to the Eagles evaluation process and all those involved, because they got one right. And it was pretty evident early on that Quinyon Mitchell was going to be a big-time player.
Wild story. Let's go to Chris in Ocean City. He wants to know about Jacorian Bennett. Will he have a role in the defense? He seemed a little bit disappointing with that trade last year.
Yeah, Chris, I like that question. It's not something that it's a little bit off the beaten path, but when the Eagles, when they traded for Jacorian Bennett in August, it was widely expected, or at least by some, that he was brought in to contend for a starting spot. I was of that belief, and it just never really manifested. He ended up tearing his pec on the Jordan Davis Rams play at the end of the game there, and was never. And before that, he really never factored into the defensive equation. It was really Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo. Learning that defense, where it is relatively complex and you have to make sure that you have your details fine-tuned, be able to master that in a matter of weeks, that just wasn't really realistic. But then I think probably a little bit more concerning is that he was never really able to edge his way into the competition there, especially when Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson weren't performing well. Then Jacorian Bennett gets in the finale, and I think he had two or three pass interference calls on him, just really handsy, and looked like he was sort of bailing on his technique a little bit. And I mean, he's bringing experience to the competition this year, but it's going to come down to special teams. He's not going to be one of the top four corners in all likelihood. And Kelee Ringo's a dominant special teams player for the Eagles. To keep six, Jacorian Bennett would have to be awfully special on special teams to be able to nudge his way in, because there's just a lot of players in the mix here, and he hasn't done anything to this point to separate himself.
All right, our Summer Eagles mailbags continue with the Football at Four guys. Our Monday edition is in the books. Andrew DeCecco answering your Eagles and NFC questions. Of course, the NFC East, July 28th, less than a month, the Eagles will be back on the practice field. And Andrew and the Football at Four guys will have it all covered here on the Sports Bash. Hey, great job pinch hitting, man.
Yeah, I do my best. I have big shoes to fill there with Mosher.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great questions from our listeners. We appreciate them as well. Good job, Andrew. And he is back on Thursday this week. Mosher on Wednesday, Kaplan, and, of course, the guys all summer long here on Football at Four. Here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. You can watch every day on YouTube. And, of course, subscribe, and you can see the show live, see all the guests, and, of course, be a part of the show on the YouTube chat. So we got a lot of text messages coming in from our last segment as well. 609-403-0973. People letting us know the movie that they last saw. What, Josh, what was, you said you saw what? Supergirl?
Supergirl.
Promotion City with 2 kids at home. The last movie I saw was Nuremberg with Russell Crowe. Are you familiar?
I mean, I've heard of it. I didn't actually see it yet.
What else we got here? A couple other text messages come in. My kids saw Mario in the theaters recently. My last movie that I saw was Skyfall and The Hobbit back to back. That's from David in Vineland.
Skyfall was excellent. Very underrated Bond movie. The Hobbit's more of my dad's neighborhood. My dad is a big Lord of the Rings guy.
Last movie was the Pokemon movie. Took my daughter to all those kids' movies till she graduated to the movies that her mother liked. The best was Lion King, Circle of Life.
I mean,
how long ago was that?
I mean, Lion King was the mid-90s. So.
Yeah, that's about my time frame. John from Avalon says the last movie he saw was Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, that's one that I wanted to see.
Bohemian Rhapsody is good.
Is that on Netflix?
Let me double check. It's on one of the streaming platforms.
So I could probably watch that on at home.
I would say if you can watch it, watch it. It's a good movie.
The Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty good. I did kind of had some interest in that. What was I watching this weekend? I wasn't watching a movie, I don't think.
So Google says it is on Netflix.
The Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
Okay, that might be something that I might fire up on a Phillies haven't had an off day, it feels like, and they don't have one coming up either, do they? I don't think they have an off day till the All-Star break.
I don't think they will either. Let me pull up their schedule, but I definitely recommend you watching Bohemian Rhapsody. That seems like something that would be up your alley.
Tim in Summers Point says, this is our Ben Simmons conversation. He says, I would actually absolutely welcome a Ben Simmons Philly redemption arc. I think we're past the point of hating on the guy, especially now that it's Maxey and VJ's team. That's from Tim in Summers Point. Where are you at on the Ben Simmons?
To me, the only way I see him making sense for this team is if he's going to be like a point center.
Yep.
Like if he comes into the team and let's say Ben's like, hey, I'm going to come in here, play defense, grab a bunch of rebounds. If you need a secondary ball handler in certain situations, I'll be your guy. I'll come off the bench.
I'm not asking him to shoot or score. I'm saying, number one.
Like if he's maybe like a Draymond Green-esque.
Yeah, can you play defense? Can you still play defense at a high level? Guard the wings as a 6'10" guy. Can you go and guard? Can you still guard those guys on the perimeter like he did? You know, this is a guy at 6'10" that was running around with Trae Young.
I would say if Ben Simmons could come in here and let's say, and I'm just putting out a random stat line. This is not meant to be like hyper literal here. I know I'm known for being literal, but if Ben came in here and said, look, I'll give you 8 points a night, 12 rebounds a night, and I'm going to give you a steal and a block a game, I'd be fine with that.
Well, I'm saying, listen, all I said was I'm asking him to rebound as a 6'10" guard, which is basically what he is. Could he be a guy, you know, the Sixers are a terrible rebounding team. One of the problems is there's so many three-pointers in this league.
Right.
So you get long rebounds. Well, the Sixers have smaller guards. So Ben used to be really good at getting rebounds in that painted, like around the elbows area.
If Ben can embrace the idea of I'm not the point guard, I'm the point forward.
Oh, I think he would 100% be.
Like if you told me Ben came in here, he's like, I'm going to be Dennis Rodman, I would be like, let's go.
Can he rebound? Can he defend? And can he facilitate and take Maxey off the ball for periods of time throughout a game?
If he does that, I'm fine with it. But if he's anything else, I have zero interest. By the way, the Phillies do have a day off coming up.
Yeah.
July 3rd.
July 3rd because of the Friday, because of the World Cup.
Right.
That's right.
So maybe Friday night you fire up the Netflix and watch Bohemian Rhapsody.
Maybe. Sports Best Live, 97.3 ESPN. The Sixers should absolutely bring Ben Simmons back. They're by far the biggest clown show in sports. May as well see how far they can push it. That's from Terry. I think it's the other way. They bring him back. It'll be the full circle thing that unlocks him from all of the misery and all of the snake bittenness and him saying, I was the number 1 overall pick. Now I'm coming back just to be a guy, and that this will reshuffle the atmosphere.
Listen, we knew Ben Simmons was a very, very, very good athlete, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, to me, I look at him as almost like a Draymond Green, Dennis Rodman. If he could play that kind of role, he has a specific need for this team they need filled.
Pat in Ocean City says, great show, guys. Mike, if the Phillies record with Mattingly at the helm isn't proof enough, Brandon Marsh's comments that Mattingly held a team meeting and said he was tired of no yelling in the dugout, no conversation in the clubhouse, and wants guys who were going to fight innings 1 through 9 should be among the evidence that the manager does matter. Mattingly is a much better manager than Rob Zombie. So there's a lot there. One, I've always actually said the one thing I think the manager does matter for is setting the culture in the clubhouse.
Setting the tone, yeah.
Right. So for Mattingly taking over and having that conversation right off the bat, 100%. And I said, that's what I think happened when Thompson took over from Girardi. They just did not like Girardi. And when they liked playing for Thompson. I said I would have fired Thompson after the season because I think his messaging got stale.
Right.
Not because he did a terrible job, just I think the team had kind of said, listen, we think we've got as far as we can with you. So whatever Pat in Ocean City's saying there, he said nothing different than what I've said over the years is I think the team got complacent playing for Rob. Not that I hate this guy and we need to move on. I think they just got very comfortable. They said no yelling in the dugout, no conversation. That's all because we feel comfortable.
And listen, I said this on my show this weekend about the fact that, when you look at the Phillies, one of my problems for the last 2 years was that I felt like there was nobody in the locker room who was walking around policing the locker room. And frankly, it's pretty sad that for as much as these players like Rob Thompson, it took Rob getting fired for them to get their heads out of the sand and stop being ostriches about the way they're going about their business. And to me, it's really sad that it takes someone losing their job for you to do your job.
It happens all the time, though. Joe Girardi's, I think they were 22-28 when he got fired. And then after that, they ended up, how many, what was their record? Whatever the Phillies are right now.
Well, they were on fire in 2022, that month of June.
That's what I'm saying. So right now, with Don Mattingly, 38-18. Over a 56-game run. I'd like to see what Rob Thompson's record was in his first 56 to 60 games. I'm assuming it's pretty similar because that team was, I think they were 22-28 or 22-29 when Girardi ended up getting fired.
They were 22-29 when Girardi got fired.
22-28. So there were 7 games under 500. This team was 10 games under 500. So I got to imagine that Thompson took them on a very similar run, and it was a lot because they just changed the clubhouse, the culture in that clubhouse. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, it is today's Phillies Fastball. We'll discuss all things Phillies. They could be on a 7-game losing streak. Instead, they're 3 games out of first place. We'll discuss next Phillies Fastball on the Sports Bash. 4:31, the Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN. Time for today's Phillies Fastball. It's brought to you by our friends at Ventnor Social, the place to catch every Phillies game. Tonight, the Phillies you can watch on one of their 20 big screens. Great food, great drinks. Visit their Facebook page for up-to-date info and specials. For today's Phillies Fastball, it's brought to you by Ventnor Social. The Phillies line up tonight. Check that out, of course. It's always brought to you by our friends at Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, coming to the White Horse Pike in Absecon. Text your name and where you're from, and if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs tonight, we'll randomly select a winner for a $100 gift card. Phillies lineup tonight: Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Marsh, Bohm, Stott, Real Muto, Rincones, and Justin Crawford. Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Phillies are back home, and my guys are back with me for today's edition of Phillies Fastball. Oscar Budajin and Jeff Kerr are back for today's Phillies Fastball on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. Boys, 5-2 trip that easily could have been 0-7. I mean, they could have got swept in both these series when you think about it, but it's just a flurry of unbelievable moments. Jeff Kerr, what was the moment of the week?
The moment of the week? Can we pick like 5? I mean, yesterday's game had you on by the hair of your chin, right? I mean, Ryan Kerkering couldn't even throw a strike yesterday, and the Mets bailed him out. I mean, it's simple with this team. If they have to leave when Johan Duran comes in, it's pretty much a wrap.
It was, Oscar, you could pick from, as he said, you could almost put together a what's it called? A
montage.
Everything. You could put together a Mount Rushmore of moments for this week between Derek Hill's home run, Derek Hill's catch, Derek Hill's other home run, the Schwarber home run yesterday, the Harper home run. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But what's your takeaway? More that you're not facing the Nationals bullpen in October, and you're not getting boneheaded decisions by the Mets, swinging at balls, after some walks. Do those things stick out more, or the resiliency stick out more?
I think the resiliency. I mean, this week was probably one of the best weeks we've had all season, particularly our hitting. Our hitting has taken, over the last 3 weeks, we're basically scoring almost 6 runs a game on average. This team has taken it to another level. We're 17-8 during the month of June, and this team looks like they want to win that National League East. We're only 3 games behind the Braves, and I think it's going to be very, very hard to stop this team.
Jeff, you take a look at all the different things that have happened. What do you say? Because, that Nationals bullpen is really bad. You're not facing that team. I find it hard to believe you're going to get 3 come-from-behind victories in a playoff series. And then yesterday, this whole weekend, if Derek Hill doesn't make that catch, you probably lose that game. And then Mauricio, what an idiot yesterday, swinging after all those pitches out of the zone. He walks the bases loaded, he swings at a pitch over his head. I don't know. Is Oscar right? Do you look at the resiliency, or do you look at that and say, you're not getting those type of wins come playoff time?
Well, you're definitely not getting those type of wins in October, but you need those type of wins in June, right? You got to beat the teams who you're supposed to be on the schedule. And if you don't beat them, like we talk about, if they go 0-7 this week, they're 6.5 behind the Braves, 7.5 even, maybe even farther than that. But they're in this race. And I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway for me this week is, and, I could be as positive as I want to be, but they need a left-handed reliever in the worst way on this team. They just do not have one.
Yeah, look, there is a number of things this team needs. Dave needs to address this in the month of August. I think you're going to have to write with what you have right now. I think the only position that is a big question mark in the field is right field. With Rincones, he has not proven to be a reliable hitter. That's what you saw Hill yesterday playing. Hill has been.
Are we surprised by that, Oscar? Like he's not reliable?
No, we're not. We're not. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. He's learning his way, and I don't think we have the patience based on what this team is to be waiting for anybody. It's like you got to ride the hot hand, and that's where we are right now. Look, Derek Hill was a great signing so far. He looks like a great signing. He's done incredible. I'm a little concerned with our pitching over the last 4 weeks. When you start looking at how many runs we've allowed, 417, 4.5, 417, and 471 this week, we have not been pitching as sharp, and both as primarily our whatever you would call the fourth, fifth starter on a consistent basis. I'm talking a 4-week period, as well as our bullpen has not been as reliable as outside of Durant. Of course, he's, an absolutely stud in what he does. So we're going to have to, our pitching needs to stabilize. I do believe we have 3 great starters. Nola has shown signs in most of the games. I think the fifth starter needs to, I'm still not convinced.
Yeah, well, Nola's pitching tonight, guys, and talk a little bit more about him, Geoff. Because he got off to a tear. I said he's gone from horrendous to just bad. I don't know what your expectations are him, because with the money, he should be a top of the rotation guy. He's not that guy, but he has won. The team has won 8 out of the last 10 times he has pitched.
Right, and like you said, Mike, he's not horrendous anymore. He just needs to be mid. He just needs to get them through. Like, the last 2 starts have been very encouraging for my expectations of Aaron Nola. You're keeping them in the game, and as what we're learning here, you keep this team in the game, they're going to find a way to win it. If the game is 2-1, I thought this was a very interesting stat. The Phillies are 37-1 when they're leading after 7.
Wow.
And I think it's 35-1 when they're leading after 6. So
we're the best team in baseball with one run scores. It's like, look, this team is bringing it all together. Look, the difference between the Nola in the past and the Nola currently, beyond kind of being okay, that's the word that I would use. He's not pitching as deep. He's pitching. Over the last 5 starts, 5 innings, 4 1/3, 4 2/3, 5 innings, and 5 innings. So, and again, I think we're taking 5 innings and 2 runs any day of the week, but he's not. He's not even close to what he used to be. He used to be one of the best. This guy could go 8 innings. With your eyes closed. That's how good he was.
That's why I get upset sometimes when people go, "Oh, innings eater," like they're making fun of him. I'm like, well, he was an innings eater at one point. He's just not that anymore.
Not anymore.
He got paid because he was an innings eater.
It's one of the reasons why I think the Phillies felt comfortable giving him that deal, is because they figured, hey, this guy's going to throw 6-7 innings every single time he goes out there, whether he's going to be a Cy Young candidate or not, maybe not, but he was just constantly going to make his starts for you, and that's something that is pretty valuable. The problem is if you can't get into the 5th and 6th innings, but he's been kind of getting to that 5th inning here. Mm-hmm. And listen, for the money, it's obviously a disaster of a contract. But he has been, as we said, he was horrendous. Now he's just bad. And hopefully he can be bad again tonight. And that's enough innings for them.
This is where the middle relief gets tested, right? I know a lot of people want them to send down Chase Shugard and they want them to send down this guy and that. Yeah. Well, who are you sending them down for? Right? Look, the bullpen depth is getting tested right now because of guys on the IL.
Geoff, that's it. We got a question earlier today from Pat in Ocean City. He says, great show, guys. The Mattingly, if the Phillies record with Mattingly at the helm isn't proof enough, Brandon Marsh's comments that Mattingly held a team meeting and said he was tired of no yelling in the dugout, no conversation in the clubhouse, and wants guys who are going to fight innings 1 through 9 should be among the evidence that the manager does matter. Mattingly is a much better manager than Rob Zombie. So the point of that question is
I hate to tell these guys Rob Thompson was a good manager. How many times have I really want to know this? Did people start watching this team when they were up 2-1 in the World Series? Seriously?
So it's interesting he says that. The Phillies are 38-18 with Don Mattingly after 56 games. Yeah. Rob Thompson's first 56 games, they were 37-19. The point that he makes, though, of the change in the voice and getting a little bit more energy.
And I agree with the point. I agree with the point.
Valid. Yes, that is valid. Yeah. But I said on the field, Oscar and Geoff, when they got Zach Wheeler back, how much did that save the middle relief guys from not having to pitch so much? It saved their bullpen, and that really helped them, I think, get a lot more consistent, was getting Wheeler and getting
I think it was a spark on this team. Remember, they were on a 7-game losing streak, I think, when Zach Wheeler came. And it was almost, and guys have told me this in the club, all right, Zach's back. it wasn't just pitchers; it was hitters.
And it's not just back. It's not just back. It's the leader of your starting pitching comes in. And remember, Christopher Sanchez will always tell you, I look up to Zach Wheeler. I mean, the guy came back and he absolutely took this start. I mean, you imagine if we would not have Zach Wheeler right now, where this team would be? I'm telling you, we're not even close to where we are today.
I don't even think they're 500, honestly.
I agree. I think right now we're 47 and 37. I'm telling you, we're probably under 500 right now if Zach Wheeler would not be on this team.
You know, Oscar, you and I talked about this last postseason too, when everything was kind of developing before our eyes with this series. We said that they needed to win game one, et cetera, et cetera. And I kept thinking to myself, man, this team is such a disadvantage without Zach Wheeler. You had Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez. I think the whole series changes.
Look, I absolutely, 100%. I think there's one thing about that comment that I want to raise. I think the mistake here was not letting Rob Thompson go after the last postseason. Yes, I mean, he had plenty of time.
I would agree with that, yeah.
He had plenty of time to get this team over the hump. We knew it was a tremendous team that should have won the World Series. Where I disagree completely is how they handle this, letting the season start with the same team and expecting different results. And we started bad, 9-19, which none of us were expecting. And Mattingly brings a different dimension. Mattingly brings you the experience that he has as a player and can talk to a Harper and a Schwarber and any of the young guys can tell them in their face, look, this is what you need to do because I've been there. I was a player. And that's the reality. I mean, it's a very different dynamic with Thompson.
I always said this too. I always respected, and this is where I did kind of agree with Nick Castellanos in a sense. I always listened to someone who was better than me at something. It's just natural, right? Don Mattingly could have said to a guy like him, dude, I was 50 times the player that you were. Shut up.
Rob Thompson he could do. He could do. I mean, Thompson is a great organizer, a great players manager. He did. I mean, it's a different dynamic, and it's great. I mean, I'm glad we made the change. Initially, I felt bad for Thompson after getting us to the postseason for 4 straight years, including the World Series. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'll always take off my hat to Rob Thompson, where he took this team and took it in 2022.
Well, I agree with you, though. I agree with you, though, Oscar. And I said after last year's playoffs, if you're going to bring back the same team, you had to change something. And I think Marsh is right. The team got too complacent. They needed Don Mattingly to say, guys, you guys are too comfortable. Let's hear a little bit more chatter. Let's have some more fun in this clubhouse.
You're too good. So there are a couple things I learned after Rob got fired from a lot of players on this team. And I kind of did know of the quote-unquote meeting. I didn't know what was the extent of it. But what you gathered was, okay, we played the Cubs and the Braves and they were red hot. That's what – let's play somebody else and let's see what we can do. But the second thing was they felt accountable. They got him fired. That was like the concept. And I think that's what Tom Mattingly told him. Hey, look, you guys got him fired. I didn't get him fired. Dave Dombrowski didn't get him fired. You got him fired. And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
All right, it was primarily, our starting pitching was awful in the month of April, 25th in baseball with 467. And even our hitters, we're 26 in baseball in hitting. 3.88 runs. Now we're second. By the way, in May, we did not hit. We were 22nd in baseball, 4 runs per game.
Pitching carried them in May. Yep.
In June, the pitching carried us as a May 3.19 ERA, and now we're scoring 5.52 runs during the month of June, which this is the Phillies team that we know what they're capable of doing. Schwarber, Harper on a row. We saw one day is Alec Bohm, the other day is Stubbs, the other day is Stubby. By the way, there's some very interesting dynamics on that bench that we're going to have to talk about very soon because, you got the fam going in the minor leagues. Can he help this team?
He had a home run today, Oscar. He had a home run today in the Florida League. So
are we better off having fam instead of Rincones Jr.? I love Rincones Jr. He's a great kid. and all that. But I'm thinking
Not ready.
about the World Series,
He's
guys.
not ready for a pennant race.
How can we go on a pennant race to be at full sync and ready to win the way we have not been able to win
Have
so
you
far?
guys noticed, and we've talked about this on this show, they've gotten professional pinch hitters, professional bench guys that they don't need to play every day. Otto Kemp did. Felix Reyes did. Gabriel Rincones does. Like, Tommy Pham doesn't have to play every day. Derek Hill does not have to play every day.
Pham is a proof now. He's 38 years old, and he obviously hasn't been very productive in a while, but he is a guy that can play left field. Do you want to get Edmundo Sosa, big picture? Do you want to play Edmundo Sosa in left field in a playoff game? I don't know about that.
Here's one for you. When you put in a lefty late in the game to get somebody out, a la Bryson Stott, you can put Tommy Pham in. You can be a little creative here.
Yeah.
Well, and he also gives you the opportunity to use Sosa at second base and have Pham play left field against a tough lefty as well. Geoff, let me throw to you. Andrew Painter pitched yesterday. How did that go for him?
Well, I thought the fastball command was a lot better. He threw 44 fastballs out of the 80 pitches he threw. The problem is the rest of it was not good. He had trouble with his sinker. He had trouble with his slider. He had trouble locating his curveball. The command issues were still there, but the fastball had more movement, I thought, and that's the positive, right? But the negative is still walking a lot of guys. The command issues aren't there. I mean, he's not ready yet.
On the road, on the road when they're repairing things, work in progress. That's what we have here. I mean, he's work in progress. I mean, we just have to give it time. We just have to give it time.
And that's why I need to see more of Alan Rangel. You just got to hope Alan Rangel can do this for like a month for him.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on Painter as well. And, of course, Phillies Fastball's back again tomorrow right here on the Sports Bash Live with Geoff and Oscar. The Phillies tonight, they take on the Pirates. A 4-game set with the Pirates. We got Wheeler and Skeens facing off. What day is that?
By the way, guys, I want you guys to help me do my job tomorrow. I'm interviewing Mike Schmidt. What do you guys want to know from Schmitty?
Can he still play?
No, in regards to this team, I have some questions, but I'm always willing to ask people.
What would we want to know from Mike Schmidt regarding this team? I would ask him this. He was a guy, Schwarber, 5 straight 30 home run seasons. How does a power hitter keep his consistency the way that Schwarber is right
Schmidt
now?
had 9 straight. Right? Schmidt would have had 15 straight if it wasn't for, I'm trying to think the year he didn't have it. 78 maybe? There was a year he didn't have 30?
I know he had 13. I think he had 13 out of 14 years where he hit 30.
Yeah, so it would have been 14 straight. I think 78 he didn't have 30.
That's
but he
pretty
was
good.
really
Especially
close.
at that time to be hitting 30 home runs is much different than today. But how hard is it to stay that consistent hitting? That's unheard of to hit 30 home runs.
But Mike Schmidt, I don't think this current generation understands. Like, we all know how great Mike Schmidt is, great third baseman in Major League. But my dad would tell me all the time, Mike Schmidt was a superstar. If there were superstars in baseball, top 5 players, Mike Schmidt was one of them.
Yeah. Here's the question I would ask him. When you look at this lineup, what does this lineup missing to win a World Series?
Yeah. By the way, he got hurt in 78. That's why he didn't hit 30.
I was good. He got hurt in 79 too. Remember, he was on like a 50 home run pace in 79.
But that's it. What is this lineup missing to win a World Series?
Yeah.
All right, guys, back tomorrow with more Phillies Fastball. The Phillies have a new 4-game series with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're all over it tomorrow with the guys. Thanks, boys.
Take it easy. Go Phils.
All right, there's Geoff and Oscar for Phillies Fastball today on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up, we got so much more to go, including the final hour of the show. We're going to talk to Austin Krell about all the things that the Sixers have. Plus, we'll update the poll question on Ben Simmons coming up next. All right, coming up on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, Ben Simmons with a Men's Health article about 5,000 words, to which he says, quote, maybe I'll go back to Philly. So we asked you at Mike Gill Show, would you bring Ben Simmons back? He says he wants to make a comeback. He mentions Philly and Miami as the two spots. Updating the poll question at Mike Gill Show. What do you think it is right now, Josh?
I'm going to think a small majority says no.
53% say no. 46% say yes. They would bring Ben Simmons back. It's a pretty close race. You got another hour to vote at Mike Gill Show. Vote, vote, vote. We'll update the poll question. Plus, Sixers writer Austin Krell from Sports Illustrated at 5:30 joins me on the Sports Bash. Bash. I'm Mike Gill. So Ben Simmons is in the news today, if you haven't noticed or if you haven't been on social media. Men's Health wrote an article sitting down with Ben Simmons, and really the big part of this was his desire to return. He told Men's Health he might want to come back to Philly. I've got thoughts. You have thoughts. Drop them in the chats right now. Hit me up on the text board on the White Horse RV text board 609-403-0973. This hour of the show, it's brought to you by Cross County Connection. 6 South Jersey Connect shuttles, fare free transportations across South Jersey. Connect to your job, your college courses, healthcare visits, shopping, government services, and MJ Transit hubs, all at no cost. For details, 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. So let's get into this. I mean, this is one of the more you thought this Monday was going to be just a normal Monday with the Phils, quiet, free agency starts tomorrow. By the way, John Morant just got traded. He is going to Portland, it looks like. So we have updates on that. What's the deal there? What do we got, Josh?
I'll pull it back up. I was just reading about how Julian Champagny is signing a 3-year, $45 million deal to stay with the Spurs.
He was on the Sixers, and they released him so that
I'm aware.
Mac McClung
I've only heard you and Nick Earnshaw bring it up about 1,000 times.
So Ben Simmons decides to drop a bomb with Men's Health. He does this massive 5,000-word feature that dropped today.
Another former Sixer is re-signing. 4 years, $24 million for Landry Shamet with the Knicks.
Oh, wow. I didn't think the Knicks were going to be able to get him back. I read there was going to be a pretty good market for him. So
the Morant deal, by the way. So Morant's going to Portland in exchange for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray.
So it's basically a salary dump. Interesting. So Ben Simmons does a feature with Men's Health. It drops today. And he talked about his back surgeries, and then he's found peace. He watched the NBA playoffs, and now he's starting to get the juice back because he watched these playoffs and says, I can compete with these guys. But the money quote of this whole thing is, maybe I'll go back to Philly. Miami would be nice, and not because it's Miami. I like Eric Spoelstra. I like the Heat. I like their organization. I like the culture. What do you make of that comment there? First off, he says, maybe I'll go back to Philly. Then he says Miami would be nice, not because it's Miami. I'm pretty floored that he talked about the culture of an organization. Because isn't the perception of Ben that he doesn't care about that kind of stuff? He only cares about Ben Simmons. And he says, I like the culture. It has nothing to do with the Heat or the city of Miami. It's more, I like the culture. I was pretty surprised. But why those two teams?
Well, I think the Sixers comes down to familiarity. A lot of times, for example, let's say you have a car, a certain kind of car for many years. Then you switch and you're like, kind of miss the car I used to have. And then you go back to it, that brand or that line of car. I think Ben Simmons views it the same way. I think Ben is the kind of guy who says, you know what? The Philly thing didn't end the way I would have liked. The people who I didn't like aren't there anymore.
Here's an interesting take. Let me throw this into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Embiid apparently was on the Maxi on the Mic podcast.
Does
Maxi have a podcast?
Yeah, he does.
Joel Embiid said he thinks if Maxi had been able to play with Ben Simmons and Embiid, it would have been a game-changing, and it was a perfect match. Combining Maxi and Embiid scoring with Simmons' defense, playmaking, and transition play. He says that was the team, Embiid and Maxi and Simmons. And he says he thinks about that pairing a lot. He says there are been a lot of mistakes, and he mentions Mikal Bridges. But Ben Simmons is the one that got away.
I mean, he's not 100% wrong because the whole point of drafting Markelle Fultz was to have a Maxi-like player.
Right. Fultz was Maxi before Maxi was here.
Right. So my point is that
supposed to be anyway.
I don't think that theory is off. I think the problem is that Ben never evolved past a certain point and then everything happened. It crashed and burned. So if Ben comes back here, I go back to the question I asked you before, Mike. Is Ben willing to play the role that this team needs?
I think Ben has humbled himself 100%. I would think so anyway. He went and played in Brooklyn and L.A., and I went to a game one night. The Sixers played Brooklyn, and he was playing for Brooklyn at the time. And he looked healthy. He looked like he had found a role with the Nets. He had like 10 rebounds in the game. He had grabbed a rebound, start at the break. And I was thinking, man, if they could just have this guy, I don't know what the heck happened to him. You know, he talked about in the article, he talked about the play in Atlanta. And his answer was really, I thought it was kind of a weak sauce answer, to be honest. But he essentially said, I know I wasn't shooting the ball well, so I gave it to Thibault because I would rather him shoot than me if he got fouled.
I mean, come on, man. You can't say that out loud. That's a poor answer.
Yeah, that one, I thought that the way that he answered that question didn't really do. He said, it talked about the Sixers losing to the Hawks in the second round. He said, all series, it says Simmons struggled from the free throw line. In the final 3 games, he scored just 19 points and didn't take a single shot in the fourth quarter. The moment that changed the entire trajectory of his career came with about 3:30 left in the decisive Game 7. His team down 2. Instead of taking an open game-tying dunk, he passed the ball to his teammate Matisse Thybulle, who was fouled. Thybulle made only 1 of 2 free throws, and the Hawks kept the lead for the rest of the game. The Sixers went home. Much of the blame zeroed on the dunk that never happened. For Sixers fans, it was the charge that set off the powder keg of collective frustrations that he was too passive, lacked confidence, and needed to shoot more. Simmons got killed by the press and even caught heat from his own organization. His teammate, Joel Embiid, told the media that Simmons' pass was the turning point in the team's loss. Coach Doc Rivers told reporters, I don't know, when asked if Simmons could be the point guard of a championship team. Simmons has since said that in hindsight, he should have just dunked. When I asked him about it today, he seems good-natured about it, saying he jokes with Thybulle about that moment. Quote, I wasn't hitting my bleep, so mother bleeper, you knock it down, Simmons laughs. I just gave it to someone who was shooting a higher percentage of free throws at the time. So what is the difference? How about he should have made the bleeping free throws, but he didn't. It is what it is. That's still my boy. I love the guy. But he really passed the buck off the Thybulle on that one.
I hate that answer. That's the kind of answer that makes Philly fans mad, because that's the kind of answer that says you don't get it. Like, I don't care that you're joking about it. Like, I've always said, when people joke about things, they're probably passive aggressively saying something else, right? Oh, I'm just kidding. It's like when you're in high school, right? If someone says something mean and then you're like, come on, man, that was over the line. Like, oh, I was just kidding. Like, Ben Simmons sounds like that guy. I think that is the type of maturity issue that drives Sixer fans nuts. It's the type of maturity issue that says, hey, man, I don't have a clue.
I don't like the answer at all. I think it's him kind of just being passively aggressive and just kind of laughing it off like, hey, it's behind me now. But think about this. Ben Simmons sat out, forced his way out. Then that whole Atlanta thing.
Yep.
He sued the team to get his money back, right? That whole situation, because they weren't paying him.
Correct.
And now the massive contract, that's over. I was having this conversation with my girlfriend today. I had no idea the story was coming out, but we were talking about Embiid. Simmons was just in Egypt. And she was like, whatever happened to him? And I said, he got paid, and now the contract's up. I don't think he wants to play anymore. He's got plenty of money. He's got to make over $200 million, I would imagine.
He probably invested a huge chunk of it into his
fishing
expeditions.
Yeah. So after all that, suing the team and showing up to practice and the phone in the pocket and blah, blah, he says the first team is maybe I'll go back to Philly. Like, does that say that he feels that he has unfinished business?
To me, it says that I think part of the reason why he was so happy to leave was because there were people here he didn't like. I don't think there was ever a moment where like Joel and Ben hated each other. I think that was always the Embiid versus Simmons thing was always a little bit overhyped.
I mean, listen, when you get drafted number 1 overall, there's always going to be a hype train, right? He's 6'10", and one of the things about him was he had this great basketball IQ. That was the perception, right? He was a big guy. He could dribble. He could pass. His passing, his court vision was almost second to none.
Right. He was in some people compared his court vision like a Magic Johnson type player.
Mm-hmm. So the whole shooting thing, it almost overshadowed everything, right? He made such an impact, but he just wouldn't shoot. And it was like, no matter what he did well, it was, don't care, you're not shooting.
Right.
And it was almost like this battle of, you're not shooting, but you're an all-star. And then he was kind of like, well, I'm an all-star. Why do I need to? And that to me lost me when he said something to that effect. It was like, I'm a 3-time all-star. Why do I need to add? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was almost okay with where he was.
Well, again, he was the kind of athlete who said, I got to a certain level of success. I don't need to get any better.
Yeah.
He was not interested in growing his game or evolve. You know, when Ben Simmons first started becoming the Ben Simmons, the all-star, it was around the same time of, you remember, Mike, the rise of Giannis. And remember the conversations we would have is, man, look at Giannis, look at Ben. If Ben could just kind of follow the Giannis trajectory, imagine what the Sixers team could be. And Giannis kept ascending, and Ben Simmons said, you know what? I'm good on the third floor.
Right. The question I would have based on that is, does Simmons just want another check? Because I can't imagine anyone's going to pay him real money.
Well, that's an interesting question because...
Let me throw a hypothetical out, right?
Yeah.
Mike Gansey says, guys, we've signed Ben Simmons to a non-guaranteed veterans minimum, and he's basically going to be a role player for us. What is your reaction to that?
Then if he's willing to do that, that shows me that he's serious about playing basketball.
That's what I would say. Because to me, if it was about money and they just signed him to a veterans minimum or a mid-level exception or whatever, you know, I don't think he's going to take I don't know what the veterans minimum is. Maybe he would take the veterans minimum. But could he take a mid-level exception, whatever that number is, or whatever a low risk number is?
Veterans minimum is just over $2 million.
Okay, so if he got the veterans minimum or a mid-level exception, I mean, they just let Trendon Wofford go. That's $2.3 million, I think it was.
So just let you know, the money depends on how many years a guy played in the league. So I got to look up how many years.
Well, he got drafted in 2014 or 15.
Yeah, but it's based on accumulated league time, 7 years. So a 7-year vet minimum is $3 million.
All right. So if he got signed to the veterans minimum, that's $3 million. There's nothing that can hurt here. I don't think the guy would be a locker room cancer. He wasn't a locker room cancer when he was here.
No, he was only a problem at the very end.
When he wanted out.
Right.
But the point is, somebody said,
the phone in his pocket.
Somebody said that, texted and said, this is a desperate attempt to get a paycheck. I don't think he's getting a paycheck. Not a real one anyway. Not one that's significant.
Well, listen, and this is why I asked, I don't know how much money he spent on this fishing tour team that he bought and all this stuff. I mean, I don't think Ben Simmons is like a prize fighter who burned through all of his money and is like, I got to get one more fight, one more check to make up.
By the way, he has made approximately $203 million in salary.
Right. I doubt that he has burned through $203 million.
Yeah, I don't think he is signing. And I think he would only get a veterans minimum or.
And I'm trying to be fair here because I was one of the biggest Ben Simmons criticizers, haters, whatever you call it, there was his last few years. So if I'm sitting here saying this, I think we got to be realistic about it.
Again, and somebody texted in, Willie and Cape May Courthouse says, Mike, I got to tell you, you've always been a Ben Simmons guy, and I give you a lot of credit for that, but this guy's a certified wacko. I personally think he might be the last guy of the Sixers, and believe me, I realize they have a lot of needs. Please do not bring that guy back here. I would ask Willie this. this is all I'm asking for. A affordable defender, rebounder, facilitator. I'm not asking him to score. I got Maxey, I got VJ, I've got Embiid,
I got Paul George.
He would basically be your point forward and let Maxey just him and Edgecombe run around without the ball, and they don't have to worry about, dribbling and bringing the ball up and all that stuff. He could defend, rebound, and facilitate. That's all I'm asking. And I'm asking for the veterans minimum or a mid-level exception. I'm not paying him real money.
If Ben Simmons, I mentioned this earlier in the show, if he comes in and says, I'm going to be your Draymond Green, I'm going to be your Dennis Rodman, okay? I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get double-digit rebounds tonight, I'm going to play wacko defense, and I don't need to score. I think that he fits fine. Now, the Willie's point, again, some of the answers in the Men's Health Journal or whatever the magazine is called.
Men's Health. I figured you would have it on your toilet.
Yeah, it's not. Maybe like 15 years ago, but I think I got stuck into one of those magazine subscriptions. Back in the day, you get those magazine subscriptions, and someone suckers you into it. I might have checked it off. I had it for a little while, but anyway. That was like 15, 20 years ago. But back to what we were saying, whatever the publication is, some of his answers are weird. So to Willie's point, are we 100% sure that Ben Simmons is in the state of mind?
Well, let's talk about state of mind. He mentions this because I remember at the time, he had talked about mental health, and he got traded to Brooklyn. In the press conference with Brooklyn, he addressed his mental health, saying, quote, "For me, the mental health has nothing to do with the trade. It was a bunch of things that I was dealing with as a person in my personal life that I don't really want to go in depth with. But I'm here now. It's a blessing to be in an organization like this. I'm just looking forward to getting back on the floor and building something great here." This goes back to he had said he had mental health issues. That's what he told the Sixers,
right,
of why he could not report or didn't want to report.
Right. Then he changed it and said I was doing the personal family stuff,
which all I think was encompassing.
Right.
He had the situation with his sister.
Yeah. For those who don't remember, there was a whole incident with his sister and his brother, and it was an overlapping situation. Maybe took that time away from the team. So there were a lot of issues going on with Ben Simmons on top of the physical health, in the back and all the things.
He had a micro discectomy to relieve pressure on a pinched nerve. To which he said he was in so much pain that he could not walk.
Right. And again, that is a legitimate.
And then he had a second surgery.
Right. He had a second procedure to kind of clean up the first procedure, basically, is the layman's explanation of it.
And it says because he had an injury that involved nerves, he often led to shooting pain in his glute and down his legs.
Right, which is typically a offshoot of a pinched nerve with the sciatica nerve.
He went on to say he felt so fragile that oftentimes he had to change the way he breathed so that I guess the pain was so substantial.
Right, it was so substantial. And again, I never doubted Ben had a physical problem, but to Willie's point, Willie for Keeping Courthouse, is there obviously is a psychological element here. And I made this comment about Brendan Sorsby, and I'll reapply it to Ben Simmons. When someone has an issue and they're not willing to fully address it or own up to it, it makes me nervous if I can trust you.
No doubt. Well, he was asked this question. He said, I asked if he can give me an example of something he could do easily before the injury that became difficult. He laughs at the absurdity of it. And he said, quote, "Go and get a rebound, dunk the ball, guard, play defense, be physical. Basically everything you need to be a basketball player. It felt like I was just kind of out there as a body." I asked him if it was true that he struggled with confidence during his time in Philly. He said, quote, "I was injured. So many people speak about confidence. If I was not confident, I would not get on the court again. I would not go to the Clippers. I wouldn't play in Brooklyn. It's health, just being healthy." So he's essentially saying I was basically, out there in body only, but I just couldn't do the job.
Then he shouldn't have been out there.
100%. And then he shouldn't have been out there, which he wasn't all that often, by the way. He played in Brooklyn
But this is where
90 games, and then with the Clippers, he played 18.
But this is part of the reason why fans can't trust these athletes sometimes. Because on one hand, we hear an athlete like Ben Simmons saying, I was out there playing through pain. A guy like Joel Embiid, I'm playing through pain. But then you have another athlete who's load managing. He could be out there, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have fans who don't know who's telling the truth and who's not. I don't know every situation when a guy can and can't play, because these guys keep creating these scenarios where it's like, well, I played through pain this time, but this time I need a load management.
Yeah. He said, Simmons says it took him a long time to realize that was also a nervous system issue. Quote, you can't be in a state where you're a high stress situation all the time, especially trying to recover from a back injury. I would rather have gone through a broken foot again because it would have been clear and easy. He said, the joy that I play with comes from being healthy. How do you love something when you're bleeped up? How do you love something that you do when you're incapable of doing it? So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like a conflicted situation that there were times where he tried to play because maybe he thought he could help, and then he was out there realizing he can't.
Sure.
I will say, I mean, he didn't play all that much in either of his last two stops. I mean, he was in Brooklyn for 3 years. He only played 90 games.
Yeah.
And he played only 18 games with the Clippers.
Yeah, I get it. I understand what Ben's trying to say.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I am shocked that he even wants to come back. That is shocking to me.
It is shocking because he was a guy who was, as you mentioned earlier, was perceived as someone who didn't love basketball.
Correct.
So is it something where he didn't love basketball at first and now he doesn't have it anymore? He misses it?
I don't know. That's why he says he's definitely in a happy place now. He said, the moment I decided to sit out the season, the weight came off of his shoulders. And now he said he watched the playoffs, and after watching and feeling healthy enough that he feels like he can compete with all those, with the people out there.
By the way, I got a little Flyers news for you. The Flyers extended qualifying offers to Jamie Drysdale, Nikita Gorbakin, Trevor Zegras, and Hunter McDonald. They did not qualify. There's really only one name on the non-qualified list has any relevance. They're mostly just randos. But I will say I'm a little surprised they didn't extend Artem Guryev because he was a depth guy for the minor leagues. But
well, we talked about that with Durso earlier. He said he thought that would be done by the end of our show tonight. So
there you go.
Durso was right. 609-403-0973. Matt in Sicklerville, did he get a new back? He's damaged good. No, thanks. I would agree, Matt. If he's damaged good, then no. But if he gets cleared and they say he is going to play, I don't know, for $2 million, what else is this team going to get for $2 million? I mean, Trendon Watford is what you got last year. I'd rather Ben Simmons than Trendon Watford. They're about the same player. They're both 6'9" guys who are more a point forward. I would think, though, that Nick Nurse knows what Ben Simmons can do. He saw them in the playoff series.
By the way, I have a follow-up information from Shams about the John Morant trade. He said on the Sports Center, quote, the Portland Trailblazers are not and have not been actively pursuing John Morant.
Boston wanted Klingon.
He did.
And that's why they weren't interested. I don't know. I mean, I'd make that deal. To me, Jaylen Brown is one of the top 15 to 20 players in the league.
I am so perplexed why more teams are not like hunting for this guy. Like, to me, Jaylen Brown showed you this year, he is an MVP caliber player. Like, every team that needs that kind of guy should be on the phone with Boston.
All right. You can read this full article at menshealth.com. It's a lengthy piece on Ben Simmons. We'll talk more about it with Austin Krell, who's going to join us on the other side. 609-403-0973. Let us know, would you be willing to bring Ben Simmons back? And we're talking veterans minimum, mid-level exception, something very low risk, possibly high reward. Seafood extraordinary, the value tremendous. The Sunset, they're on the house. Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant in the Boathouse at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood. Experience the best of the Jersey Shore at Yuri's and the Boathouse. And we're there on Thursday for another Phillies day game watch party. Come out and see us live this Thursday at Yuri's for another Phillies day game watch party. When we come back, Austin Krell covers the Sixers from Sports Illustrated. He's next. All right, welcome back. 5:32 on a Monday night. I didn't realize Ben Simmons would be in my lexicon so much today. Oddly enough, I saw he was in Egypt at the pyramids of Giza. So I was just talking about him yesterday, and then of all publications, Men's Health found him and did a long form article on Ben Simmons, over 4,000 words. Austin Krell from Sports Illustrated covers the Sixers. He joins us now as the Sixers get ready for what will probably be an uneventful offseason. How eventful would it be if Ben Simmons, who apparently says he's open to returning to Philadelphia, how crazy would that be, Austin?
Well, Mike, we all say things when we know that the odds of them happening are pretty slim. So it would be one thing if he had to say it with the likelihood of it being tested pretty high. Another thing when he says it knowing that there are some forces in Philly who would object to him coming back.
So is Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, would they be some of them? Because it sounds like Embiid it would be somewhat intrigued by returning and reuniting with Ben Simmons.
I wish Joel all the best in his basketball endeavors, is what I will say. I think fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Ben actually could play to the level, not even the level that he was, just can he rebound? Can he defend and can he facilitate? I'm not even asking you to score. Can he be a role player for like the veterans minimum? You could probably, they just let Trendon Watford go. You could replace Watford with someone like that if he's actually got his head on.
It is funny. Like we think about the mold of Trendon Watford, and they are a pretty similar mold of player. One has far less defensive upside, that being Trendon, of course. But I just could not get over in the piece. Like, you think about Tyrese when he was a rookie, Ben's last year, and he's now the cornerstone of the franchise. Joel has become an MVP since Ben left. And Ben's first thought when asked about this topic is, I just passed it to Matisse because he was the one that was making the free throws at a higher level.
Terrible.
And I'm sitting there like, have we learned nothing from the whole experience? Where is the introspection of, I took a good hard look in the mirror and realized that my own demons are the reason that had to happen. And there's none of that. So, I always covered Ben favorably. I thought he was a good player. I thought people were harsh on him and were ignorant of his value. But when you're almost 30 years old and you're spewing the same messaging that you've been spewing forever, you're just not going to change.
Yeah, so his response was, maybe I'll go back to Philly. Miami would be nice. The fact that he even mentioned Philadelphia as a possibility was just like, of all the teams, you're like, maybe I'll go back to Philly. I thought that was very eye-opening because, as you mentioned, the way it ended here was obviously not great.
Yeah, I know some people who are close to Ben, and I think they would say that as much as the ending was bad, Ben still has love for the city, very much enjoyed his time here. The idea that he was always going to run away to LA at the end of the day was overstated. So I do think he would maybe feels like he would like to finish what he started here. I just don't see people are embracing it at the moment. As soon as that guy steps on the court and passes up like 3 jumpers or like goes over 2 from the foul line, it's going to rehash all the old scar tissue, and it's going to we're right back where we started. The only thing I would say is because he's 1 year removed from his last NBA appearance, there's virtually no downside. You just give him a minimum and tell him to earn his way back.
Right now, by the way, our listeners, 52% say no, they would not bring Ben back. 47% say yes, they would. I was surprised that people would be willing to give him another shot. That was the surprising point to me, is that people were like, yeah, you know what? I would give him another shot.
There were people at other stations who were saying I would give him another shot. It's a very good test.
To be fair, Austin, I said I would bring him back at a veterans minimum, about $3 million if he's a role player. This team could use a guy that could rebound, start the break, defend, and facilitate. He offers what they lack. They don't need him to. When he was here before, they needed him to score. They didn't have any other scoring. Now he doesn't need to score.
I would say a lot of the language in the article seemed to me like somebody who was still like the same. I think I'm this type of player, and I would be curious in a bad way what adding him to a team that is led by Tyrese Maxey would do. Just because, like, would he be like, like, give me the ball, like I set the pace, whatever. Granted, he wouldn't have much leverage in the situation, but I just see it as like it's not gonna he's never gonna change. So why are we doing this whole charade?
He says, when I'm out there, I make everybody better. I play defense. I get offensive rebounds. Some things that this team absolutely does not do.
Except he hasn't run the pace in years because he's been injured.
Yeah.
So, like, what are we talking about?
He's played 108 games since he has left Philadelphia. Yeah. Austin Krell, let's get into this team. They declined Watford. They brought back Barlow and Terry. What do those moves today do for tomorrow, 6:00, that starts free agency?
Yeah, so it's all just setting the tables for what they will have money wise. There are contracts in the book that are still not fully guaranteed, but they're going to have a lot of space below the first apron. They won't come close to touching the second luxury tax apron, I believe. And for the listeners out there who don't know what an apron is and don't care what an apron is, all you got to know is this. Bob Myers said as much a couple weeks ago when they introduced Mike Gansey. They will have access to the full mid-level exception of over $15 million. They will have access to the full biannual exception, which is about $5.5 million. They will then also have some space for a couple decisions. Do you want to see what Kelly Oubre and Quentin Grimes are getting back on the market? Maybe they have really dry markets. Maybe they have robust markets, and it doesn't matter because they have a really good offer somewhere and they're gone. And if that's the case, okay, you have money to spend on minimums elsewhere. So I think that will be something that we'll hear more about in the next 24 hours. I think it also behooves Kelly and maybe Quentin to slow play this a little bit, just because you see these contracts that are flying off for different players. They may think, well, option A and B were just taken away for this team. I wonder if that inflates my value a little bit to them. So I think the big thing to watch out for tomorrow, do they spend more than like $5 million on opening night? If they do, that tells you that they are thinking about the bigger mid-level exception, and that basically put a cap on what they can spend elsewhere. If they spend that mid-level exception, they can't spend more than, like, I think another $9 or so million is the number that I have total. So look out for that. As for the targets, people keep talking about Dean Wade. I personally have to watch a little bit more Dean Wade film, but I can tell you right off the bat, like, not available all that consistently. An okay shooter, but not a great shooter. Has some size, can defend. Like, if that's what you're getting, that guy better, like, make some really fast decisions, make some really crafty passes on the wings. Otherwise, to me, it just kind of seems like it's a Mike Gansey guy who is just kind of like, hey, come to Philly. I'm here now. I would be very intrigued with, I'd be pretty intrigued with John Collins. High flying forward, who's a really good shooter. Think his rebounding is not great, and his rim protection isn't great either. So you're kind of like, yeah, you have this guy with size who fits the offense. How does he kind of protect or insulate Joel or the other guys on his team defensively? The name that I keep coming back to is Sandro Mamukelashvili, who played for Toronto last season. He's a lefty, not really a great defensive player, but can really, really shoot it. Had the breakout year of his career. I think the thing for him is he's coming off a minimum deal. So, like, what does a big payday look like for him? And can you get him at like 6, 7, 8 million? If you can, maybe he's a spot starter, but really that's like a backup. That's a backup for you. So I like him. I think the reality is that it's not a heavy free agent market this year. Like, right. A lot of the things that we're seeing, Draymond opting in, a lot of the trade rumors we're seeing, basically teams saying, like, all the big moves that we can make are tied up in trades and not in free agency. Do I think the Sixers have a lot of trade assets? They have draft picks, but they have a lot of front-loaded salary. Makes it very hard for them to get involved in meaningful trades.
Right. So John Collins' name keeps coming up, and you would almost wonder, what's the cost there? I mean, the way that you broke down what they have, would they be able to bring him in here? And if that happened, that essentially means an Oubre Grimes reunion is out, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, this is all predicated on what their markets are. If they have overplayed their markets and they're just not that valuable in free agency, they might come calling. I mean, there might be mutual benefit for them to return to Philadelphia. I think the more that you are spending on that mid-level exception of that $15 million, the more of that bucket you take from, the less likely it seems that they will be returning. Because I mean, not hard to think of a world where Quentin Grimes makes $10 million, $11 million. Not hard to think of a world where Kelly Oubre is making $9, $10, $11 million. That's what they're getting on the open market. You're going to be really squeezed. And I think the thing that they really don't want to do is they don't want to hard cap themselves by spending that big $15 million bucket they have. And then also be like, we have 3 roster spots that are still, or 2 roster spots left to fill. We don't really have any means of signing the players to fill them. And so it's like the end of your bench is very, very weak,
Well, and that's where bringing Dalen Terry, a guy like that, back, I wonder if they're positioning themselves to say, hey, this is the end of our bench, right? I mean, something like that. He was a guy that got on a 2-way. I guess they converted him last year, right?
Yeah, they converted him end of the season when Cameron Payne hurt his hamstring. I was a little bit surprised that they brought him back, but I mean, I think it just kind of tells you like what Gansey looks for. Like, he's not interested in this tweener forward in Watford who can't really shoot, can't really rebound or defend, just kind of is like exists in the paint somewhere. Barlow, but they were very high on, and Dalen Terry is like, he's a wing. He's a prototypical wing who can like theoretically shoot, but has no track record, but he can defend. So.
Yeah, interesting guy. He got traded for Yabasali last year, then got traded for Alvarado on the same day, indirectly helping the Knicks, I guess, get a player. And now Terry's here. We'll see what happens there. I can't imagine if I'm Quentin Grimes, I want to come back here, right?
Yeah, I would have a hard time seeing where he fits in. I mean, Tyrese and VJ have earned the future of the backcourt there. They've committed a draft pick to LeBaron and Philon, and most importantly, that represents Mike Gansey's first decision as the president. They're obviously going to want to play him. I don't see where Grimes has a spot here where he's like, the ball is in my hands. I can do what I do best, which is to go crazy against teams that are not very good.
Yeah. All right, tomorrow night, 6:00. That's when it all starts. You think Oubre's back?
I think he is the more likely of the two, I would say. But I would put it at less. I would probably say if I was the one deciding, they wouldn't be back.
All right, Austin Krell on Sports Illustrated, on SI, NBA Krell on the X platform. It's good to see you, man. Are you having a good summer? You coming down the shore at all?
Yes, sir. I'm coming. I'll be down there this weekend with some family. How about you? How are things with you?
Very busy, man. I'm here, there, everywhere, but I'm always down the shore.
Are you liking Don Mattingly? How do you feel about the Don Mattingly experience? I think I got to tell you, I'm enjoying life a little bit right now.
I felt that they should have got rid of Thompson at the end of last year.
Okay.
Not because I think Thompson was awful, just they needed a new voice, the manager's voice. He sets the culture. He sets the, and it's obvious that they got a little too complacent, a little fat and happy. We all get there.
That's right. All I know is that if they win the World Series, I want Topper on the first float. That's all I care about.
Well, I got something for you. Here you go. 56 games. Don Mattingly is 38-18 in his first 56 games. Rob Thompson, 37-19 in his first 56 games. So we were all fat and happy after Thompson replaced Girardi too.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave Dombrowski is not very good at making the primary move. He's good at making the secondary move to correct the primary move. He's very good at that.
You sign Jordan Romano and then fix it by trading for Johan Duran.
That's right. That's right. Love that. We'll love when the president is good at that stuff.
All right, man. Well, it's good to see you.
You too, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Austin Krell, Sixers on SI. He covers the 76ers. Of course, covered the Sixers for 97.3 ESPN.com. And now he's over there with him as always. The Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, we had a lot of conversation. Don Mattingly is, what's the stat there today? 38 and 18 is Don Mattingly during his first 56 games. That is a 679 win percentage for the Phillies. Rob Thompson's first 56 games, he was 37 and 19. So very similar. We'll see what ends up happening. Thompson got them to the World Series. Can Don Mattingly get this team to the World Series? We discussed a lot of it today on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We'll update the poll question one more time coming up next. All right, getting ready to wrap things up tonight on the Sports Bash Live. We'll update the poll question one more time. A lot of people getting involved on the show today. We appreciate all the votes. The final results are in. Ben Simmons on potentially making an NBA comeback. He tells Men's Health magazine, quote, maybe I'll go back to Philly. So, would you bring Ben Simmons back? 52% said no, but 47% are smart, and they said they would. We like smart people on this show. We don't like dummies. And dummies we get too many of. Just kidding. We have a lot of smart people out there who always are a part of our show. We appreciate everybody who's getting involved. Tomorrow, we're back again. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Sports Bash.